Hello, what's going on? I am just fucking, I don't know, man. I'm in a weird ass mood, not gonna lie. I need to stream more. I've been being a piece of shit. This is a super late stream, but I saw a video pop up on my YouTube feed and I wanted to finish it on stream because it's about Elon Musk, and it is actually very good so far and I want to watch it. It's pretty fucking long though, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm down for a little late night stream because I can't fucking sleep. So let's fucking get it. I'll link the original vid in the description as well. But it's called like Modern Snake Oil Salesman, some shit like that. The channel is actually pretty good too. But yeah, let me switch over here. Pause and
he found some people that were building an electric sports car and he gave them some money to build it. If it seems like I'm laboring this point a bit, it's because it's going to become important very soon. For the next year or so, the company would be knee-deep in production, with Chairman Musk popping in from time to time to check on the company, but actually give...
Okay, so, basically, Elon Musk, daddy gave him a lot of money. Not daddy, his family always kind of had it pretty good. They went on a vacation, just like a trip to England, and they met. They basically took their plane over to England and they met these gentlemen that were looking to buy a plane, like outright, and when they offered to buy it from the Musk family, they also gave a second proposal and asked if Elon Musk's father, I forget his name, was interested in investing half of it into a emerald mine. And that's like the famed emerald mine that everyone talks about, that, you know, he got all of his main like startup money from, but it's that and a handful of several very like cutthroat business moves and decisions more than anything. From what I've seen so far in this, he hasn't really, like, sure, he's pretty good at coding, but I haven't really seen him invent anything yet. But that's just my opinion, so take that with a grain of salt. I'm only like 20 minutes in, so yeah.
Given his day-to-day time and attention to his other company, SpaceX. Musk would, however, be instrumental in fundraising for Tesla every time they needed money, which was often because they were burning through millions every year. In 2005, he raised $13 million.
Definitely watch the original video, because like I said, I'm fucking 20 minutes in, and if you're like invested in this shit and want to know like the whole thing, you go and support the original creator. Peaked interest. Like, this dude only has 166K, and he definitely deserves way more because this is very, very well put together. You can tell he took a lot of time on this.
$1 million in total to keep the lights on.
Excuse me. Wait.
In dollars, they were burning through millions every time they SpaceX.
Fuck, my ADHD.
Musk would, however, be instrumental in fundraising for Tesla every time they needed money, which was often because they were burning through millions every year. In 2005, he raised $13 million in total to keep the lights on.
How?
By mid-2006, Tesla was running out of money again and needed to woo some new investors. Since they didn't have a working vehicle to sell, they decided to knock up a demo car to impress investors. The car is flimsily put together and has to be cooled with buckets of ice water after every demo.
Holy shit.
But it is fast.
Yo, okay, but what the fuck? That's because you're fucking, you're like squeezing big ass lithium ion batteries in a prototype, not even a fucking prototype build, like a hastily put together like mock-up. There's nowhere for like excess heat to go. Like, of course, that's fucking insane. Like, you have to pour buckets of ice water. Jesus.
Everyone is so impressed that an electric car can be so fast that nobody notices that it feels like it's going to fall apart at any second, and
Holy
that
fuck.
it handles horrifically. The overheating problem was because the chassis couldn't actually house the full battery and had to be fitted with the smaller battery.
What the fuck did I tell you?
During the event, Eberhard...
I don't know, I'm like a dumb fuck generally with vehicles, but I know like common sense shit, and I know a little bit about thermodynamics, and just like general thermodynamics can apply to anything, especially shit like this.
Gives a conference in which and had to be fitted with the smaller battery just for demos. During the event, Eberhard gives a conference in which he outlines the car and the company's plans for it. People ask their questions and compliment the fine work at Tesla. And in all the articles printed later, Eberhard is referred to as the inventor of Tesla. Because he is.
Yeah.
Musk also gave a talk at that conference too, but not many people attended.
Hold on, I need to grab my shit here. Where did I put it? Nicotine is a terrible thing. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Do not ever, ever invest in trying it if you haven't. I'm trying to quit. About halfway down what I started on. I started at 0.6 salt nicotine, and I'm at 0.3, 0.25 actually, technically, on this juice, but feeling pretty good. Anyways.
And the ones that did stayed for only a short time.
Fuck, dude.
Because he is.
My memory is so bad.
Eberhard is referred to as the inventor of Tesla. Because he is.
Yep, got that.
Musk also gave a talk at that conference too, but not many people attended, and the ones that did stayed for only a short time because Musk had trouble getting through his script. He stumbled over his words, he didn't illustrate his points very well, and he stammered. In short, he just wasn't used to public speaking. In all articles later, Musk was barely mentioned at all.
Wait, are my levels good? Hold on.
I
need to check this out. Sorry, guys.
In which he outlines the car and the company's plans for
Oh, yeah, that is hella loud.
People ask their questions.
Give me 1 second.
Compliment the fine work at Tesla. And in all the articles printed later, Eberhard is referred to as the inventor of Tesla. Because he is. Musk also gave a talk at that conference too, but not many people attended, and the ones that did stayed for only a short time.
Almost fucking
Because Musk had
doxed
trouble
myself.
getting through his script. He stumbled over his words, he didn't illustrate his points very well, and he
Get this.
stammered.
Yeah.
In short, he just wasn't used to public speaking. In all articles later, Musk was barely mentioned at all. And when he was referred to, he was simply referred to as the Tesla financier. And this
Yeah, because that's
really got Elon wound up.
what he was
Wait.
at that point.
Sorry, I've just missed some context here and made Elon sound like he got angry for no reason, just out of petty jealousy. Let's go back and contextualize that scene again, shall we? A day before the event, Musk sent an email to Tesla press organizer Mike Harrigan stating, "The way my role has been portrayed to date, where I'm referred to..."
Alright, I'll subject RE, she did that. 2006, okay. Mike. Okay, so this is from Elon to like the main head fucking honcho. Mike, to be clear, I would like to talk with every major publication within reason. The way that my role has been portrayed to date, where I am referred to merely as an early investor, is outrageous. That would be like Martin being called an early employee. Jesus. Apart from me leading the Series A and B and co-leading the Series C, my influence on the car itself runs from the headlights to the styling to the door sill to the trunk, and my strong interest in electric transport predates Tesla by a decade. Yeah, just because I liked something for a long time means that I did it way before you did. Martin should certainly be the front and center guy, but the portrayal of my role to date has been incredibly insulting. I'm not blaming you or others at Tesla. The media is difficult to control. However, we need to make a serious effort to correct this perception. Like, oh my god, dude, get over yourself, please. Like, you're not him at this point. Like, you're not within rhyme or reason to be getting kind of upset like that. Like, that's ridiculous.
To merely as an early investor is outrageous. That would be like Martin being called an early employee. Apart from me leading the Series A and B and co-leading the Series C, my influence on the car itself runs from the headlights to the styling of the door to the sill to the trunk.
I get that you have money, but just because you dropped all that cash on this, like, I don't know, I just can't really get behind acting like that at this point.
And my strong interest in electric transport predates Tesla by a decade. Martin should certainly be the front and center guy, but the portrayal of my role to date has been incredibly insulting.
Wait.
So the context of his petty and jealous sounding actions were that he was actually petty and jealous.
Yeah.
Okay. Elon would send another email in the weeks following a New York Times article in which this time didn't refer to Musk at all and incorrectly called Eberhard the chairman of Tesla. Elon wasn't too happy about it.
Oh my god. I was incredibly insulted. Wait, this was So, what day was that email sent? July 18th. Okay. Same like year. And then two days. I was incredibly insulted and embarrassed by the NY Times article where I am not merely unmentioned, but where Martin is actually referred to as the chairman. If anything like this happens again, please consider the PCGC relationship with Tesla to end immediately upon publication of such a piece. Please ensure that the NYT publishes a correction as soon as possible. Dude, what a fucking clown. That is so goddamn rich. Love that.
The New York Times would later state
Holy
that Elon
shit.
should stop being so snowflakey and easily offended, and that they were just like exercising their free speech, and he should totally respect that. Actually, they didn't, but that would have been funny if they did. They printed their retraction a couple of days later. Actually, I'm lying again. They just left it.
When you're a I'm not even gonna say it, but when you have to bully a big time like press publication because you're insecure about where you're at in a company,
And carried on with their life because they clearly had no idea who Elon Musk was, and so didn't think that he was important enough to pander to. Following the demo and the glowing reports in the press, Tesla secured tons more funding and took on a few new investors, including Google founders Sergey Brin and Larry Page, and Google themselves.
Larry Page
Now,
Page
all they
supremacy.
had to do was figure out how to make the car work. You know, the purpose of a car company.
I like this guy and his format, but the one thing I fucking cannot get over is the fact that he like set this video up where he's doing like a pseudo like TEDx talk, and it's just like really like it would have came off perfectly if he just did it talking and looking directly to the camera, because it's like so it just takes you out of it every time he cuts to like this fake audience, and the laugh track just it's really I don't like that part, but everything else is like mint. Like you can tell this guy is like on his shit for sure. But like the fucking green screen and like the fake like background, like dude, just like be authentic, please.
Everhard
at
decided
least.
that the best thing to do would be to ask.
I don't know, maybe I'm being too like critical because this is the first and only video I've seen from him. So
Purpose of a car company. Now, all they had to do was figure out how to make the car work. You know, the purpose of a car company. Everhard decided that the best thing to do would be to ask the Lotus engineers to redesign the chassis to fit the complete battery, since they knew that
yeah,
chassis
because it's
better than
fucking
anyone.
huge. It's a
Lotus
fire
came back
hazard.
to Everhard a couple of months later.
It's a stack of
with
like
a huge
lithium
list of
ion batteries.
Changes that would need to be made.
Lincoln Log.
As each change necessitated another change to counteract the negative aspects of the previous change.
Jesus, what a
Making the
shit
chassis
show.
bigger for the battery meant that the car was unbalanced, and so the wheelbase needed adjusting.
Yeah, you got to
which
redesign the whole
affected the braking system,
car.
etc.,
That's a domino
etc.
effect.
Lotus estimated that once all these changes were made, only about 7% of the original Lotus would still be there.
Oh my god.
Practically a new car.
Yeah.
The new, massively increased cost of production meant the car
Elon's
now
like,
needed to
I
be
don't
sold
like it.
for a six-figure sum to be profitable. Eberhard decided to ask Bill Moggridge to redesign the aesthetics of the car to appeal to its new six-figure demographic.
Oh my god.
After being ignored by the press, Musk made the first of many direct contacts with the public, bypassing the press entirely by posting a blog on the Tesla website. In the blog, he outlined a brilliant strategy of building high-end sports.
So Elon went the Ryan Kavanaugh build your own wiki route. Okay.
Cars, and using the profits from that sports car to reduce the cost of an everyday affordable car. Using the blog, he outlined a brilliant strategy of building high-end sports cars and using the profits from that sports car to reduce the cost of an everyday affordable car. Hey, wait. Why does that sound so familiar? Okay. Because it's the exact same business plan that Eberhard and Tarpening had published earlier. Only this time, Musk slapped his name on the front.
Nice.
And his alone. But at that point, Tesla's funding was like 80% out of Musk's pocket. So, despite the fact that he'd pretty much appropriated the earlier 80% of Eberhard and Tarpening
I need to
published earlier.
Look at this.
Only this time, Musk slapped his.
Some motivation is between you and me. My day job is running a SpaceX transportation company called SpaceX, but on the side, I'm the chairman of Tesla Motors and help formulate the business and product strategy with Martin and the rest of the team. I've also been Tesla Motors' primary funding source from when the company was just 3 people in a business plan. As you know, the initial product of Tesla Motors is a high-performance electric sports car called the Tesla Roadster. Damn, I remember when the Tesla Roadster came out. Everyone was fucking freaking out over that. However, some readers may not be aware of the fact that our long-term plan is to build a wide range of models, including affordably priced family cars. Yeah, fucking sure. Where the fuck are those? 2006, dude. Jesus. This is because the overarching purpose of Tesla Motors and the reason I am funding the company is to help expedite the move from a mine and burn hydrocarbon economy towards a solar electric economy, which you've done. That's been worked on, which I believe to be the primary but not exclusive sustainable solution. Critical to making that happen is an electric car without compromises, which is why the Tesla Roadster is designed to beat a gasoline sports car like a Porsche or Ferrari in a head-to-head showdown. And over and above that fact, it has twice the energy efficiency of a Prius. Some may question whether this actually is any good for the world. Are we really in need of another high-performance sports car? Will it actually make a difference to emissions? Fuck. Well, the answers are no. However, that misses the point. Unless you understand, the master plan alluded to almost any new technology has high unit costs before it can be optimized, and this is no less true for electric cars. Yeah, no shit. The strategy of Tesla is to enter at the high end of the market where customers are prepared.
His name on the front.
Can't see the rest.
And his alone. But at that point, Tesla's funding was like 80% out of Musk's pocket. So, despite the fact that he
because he fucking straight up ripped that off
of the car.
Oh damn! They don't show like the original.
Why does that sound
article
on the front? So, best thing to do would be to just allow him to keep the blog post uncorrected and everybody's pocket. So, his alone. But at that point, Tesla's funding was like 80% out of Musk's pocket. So, despite the fact that he'd pretty much appropriated the earlier work, everybody decided that the best thing to do would be to just allow him to keep the blog post uncorrected, and then the fame-hungry chairman would get the fame that would sate his hunger. Back at the design offices, Muggeridge had come up with a few different aesthetics for Eberhard to mull over. But Eberhard was having trouble picking one that he liked. So, he invited all the Tesla staff to take a gander to mull over. What Muggeridge's fame-hungry thing to do would be to just allow him to keep the blog post uncorrected, and then the fame-hungry chairman would get the fame that would sate his hunger. Back at the design offices, Muggeridge had come up with a few different aesthetics for Eberhard to mull over. But Eberhard was having trouble picking one that he liked.
Elon comes in and he's like, it's all shit.
He invited all the Tesla staff to take a gander and have a vote on which one that they thought was best. Later, Musk would claim that it was he who chose the design of the Tesla Roadster, incorporating features of his 2 favorite cars, the Porsche 911 and the McLaren F1.
Of course.
But according to author Ashley Vance, Musk was the only member of Tesla to be left out of that meeting and have no input on the aesthetics. Personally, I don't think that Musk had any input on the original aesthetic design of the car.
Same.
I'm a mad fan of Porsche myself, and the 911 Carrera RS 2.7 is my all-time favorite car.
God damn, that body.
When I look at the Tesla Roadster, I don't see anything of a 911 in there at all.
Yeah, like
Come
what
to
the
think of it, I don't really see the McLaren in there either. But you know what I do see? A Lotus Elise.
I see I see the Squeaky's car wash mascot on the left.
He says he's there either. But you know what I do see? A Lotus Elise.
That's what I see.
If what he says is true, wouldn't it look more like these and less like this? Musk had little to do with the day-to-day running of Tesla or design of its car. He would, however, have some small but extremely important input on minor design choices. He insisted on the door sills being lower and the door clearance being a bit higher.
No.
He's a tall guy. He wanted to be able to get in and out of the car okay. He also insisted on the custom headlights instead of off-the-shelf ones and forced the team to use carbon fiber panels for the body.
Jesus.
All these choices greatly increased the already ballooning production cost, as this meant that new parts would need to be manufactured. Parts which had never been manufactured before. Parts which would need to be designed and built completely from scratch, which now necessitated building a factory or two. Instead of
cue the foreign workers.
Circumventing the struggles of the automotive industry, Tesla just
that sounded
the exact same
problematic.
path.
Cue the mistreatment of immigrated workers that came over for promise of greatness.
It's late 2006, and Tesla, which has been in operation and under Musk's guidance for 3 years, has no...
So late 2006. And this is like right when they started having the need to like build a factory for those parts. So like, yeah, has to be when they started doing all of like the insane like labor shit where people were like bringing sleeping bags in and just working around the fucking clock, not going home.
Chief Financial Officer, and no system of tracking costs or payroll at scale.
Damn.
A CFO would be the person to keep track of all these things, and appointing one is ironically one of the few jobs that is actually part of being a chairman. Musk's job. Musk would go on to consistently complain about the increasing cost of production which he was creating by asking for bespoke changes to the vehicle. But Musk would go on to consistently complain about the increasing cost of production which he was creating by asking for bespoke changes to the vehicle.
Jesus.
But at the end of the day, it was only his cash that he was angry about himself burning through. The Series D round of fundraising brings in a new investor, Valor Equity Partners, who insist on auditing Tesla's finances because they believe they're in a mess. They discover
how did we get in this mess?
Tesla plans to sell for $86,000 is actually costing $220,000 to produce, and will literally never be profitable.
What is that math?
Actually costing $220,000.
God damn, 86,000. So 220 minus 86,000. Pull up here. Yes. 86,000. What is that loss? Oh, 134K. I mean, that's not terrible, but still, like, you got to think about the fact that that's like each fucking car, dude. That's crazy.
1,000 to produce, and will literally never be produced. They discover that the car that Tesla plans to sell for $86,000 is actually costing $220,000 to produce, and will literally never be profitable.
God damn.
Eberhard is removed as CEO, though he had already volunteered to step down as CEO in conversation with Musk previously, so that he could focus on production and not the day-to-day running of the company. Michael Marks is hired as interim CEO and immediately begins examining how the company had been run thus far. His analysis was not the most positive. He sent an email to Musk stating that the company had much bigger problems than he first thought.
I don't know anything about him.
Musk responded by accepting responsibility and admitting that he had contributed to some of those problems and that he'd worked really hard to try and correct them and better himself.
Wait, hold up. I need to check something. Are we good? Yeah. I'm chilling.
Musk responded by laying all the blame on Eberhard, claiming that his need for public hard to try and correct them and better himself. Responded by CEO and immediately begins examining how the company had been run thus far. His analysis was not the most positive.
Doesn't like it.
He sent an email to Musk stating that the company had much bigger problems than he first thought. Musk responded by accepting responsibility and admitting that he had contributed to some of those problems and that he'd worked really hard to try and correct them and better himself. I'm just kidding. Musk responded by laying all the blame on Eberhard, claiming that his need for publicity meant that he was not doing a good enough job running the company.
Oh my
God. By November
God,
2007, Musk wanted to remove Eberhard entirely from the board and offered him a large sum of money to resign.
Jesus.
After months of constant frustration and a now completely ruined working relationship together, Eberhard agreed.
Holy shit.
Tesla also hit another production problem, as the carbon fiber panels which Musk had insisted on using
Musk is just like a bully.
And so Tesla had to source new panels at a cost of about
what?
As the carbon fiber panel working relationship together, Eberhard agreed. Tesla also hit another production problem, as the carbon fiber panels which Musk had insisted on using wouldn't hold any paint.
Big surprise,
so
it's fucking carbon fiber.
New panels at a cost of about $5 million. But the problems don't stop there. Musk and Eberhard hired the company Magna Powertrain to make the transmission for the Roadster, and had repeatedly told them that it needed to be a multi-gear transmission. Magna,
and they didn't listen?
In response,
Tesla didn't listen?
Repeatedly told them that a multi-gear transmission wouldn't be able to handle the huge amount of
Tesla
torque,
was telling them that.
and it would just destroy the gearbox. They recommended a single gear transmission system. This is also why every single electric car today only has one gear. Musk and Tesla would then go to a bunch of different manufacturers to try and source the almost impossible multi-gear transmission that they wanted. And Magna then sued them for breach of contract. Shortly after, Tesla were forced into the position. Shortly after.
And sues Tesla over unpaid bill. Seems like car manufacturer Tesla. Day after our report on Tesla suing Fisker Automotive for deliberately stealing designs, the electric sports car startup is now embroiled in another lawsuit. This time around, it's playing the role of defendant. That was April 16th, 2008 when that was posted. Damn.
After, Tesla were forced into the position of having to meet a delivery deadline with with cars that didn't really work.
Yeah.
Or delay the delivery again.
That's their calling card.
After years of delays, they decided it would be better to deliver non-functional cars and upgrade them. After years, or delay the delivery again. After years of delays, they decided it would be better to deliver non-functional cars and upgrade them once the correct parts became available, rather than disappoint people with another no-show.
God,
at this point, I'm gonna need to.
So they basically said, let's take the modern game release rollout strategy where we just put out a half-baked product to avoid people screaming at us for it not being out already. That's wild, dude. People are so fucking impatient and have such, like, just, it's because, like, I'm not gonna say what everyone else says, but I mean, I use TikTok and Instagram and watch like reels and shit as much as the next person, and I'm on my phone pretty much 24/7, but I have to be for the shit that I do more than anything. It's like kind of unavoidable, but at the same time, the big reason why a lot of shit like this happens is because just of it piling up over the years. It's such a like it's almost comparable to like fast fashion in a sense. It's like fast attention span. But it's like affecting everything from like gaming to the automotive industry to music, especially the fucking like music industry, the gaming industry, and the automotive industry more than anything else from what I've seen. Shit, you could even group like the fucking like housing market in there, like real estate for sure. Is real estate be fucking like booming? Everyone's trying to do that, at least where I'm at, and there's a lot of shitty homes that are built like very poorly, constructed not to last very long with major flaws that are sold and kind of very rushed and shoved in people's faces when they're being shown for sale. Yeah, I just think it's insane, kind of. But that's my whole thing.
Explain how funding works, then disappoint people with another no-show.
Even though it's not done.
At this point, I'm going to need to explain how funding works in traditional car making.
What is that fucking
You create
logic?
a product in R&D using either company cash reserves or money loaned against the value of the company assets. You then extremely carefully plan a production line which will ensure that every single item, start to finish, is catered for and included to make sure the factory turns out one identical vehicle after another. You then sell that car to customers in the hope that it generates enough profit to cover the initial R&D cost, and that over time it establishes a brand name which keeps long-term sales ticking to help keep the lights on and part finance future cars.
Yeah.
This process is an extremely careful and controlled one, designed to minimize wasted money and time. Toyota grew themselves from a small company into an industry giant extremely quickly by following this principle.
Toyota.
The reason they tightly control time and waste is because the money they're using either belongs to the company or is leveraged against it. Fucking up the production process sinks the company. As I said previously, this method is built around doing everything right the first time, so there's no mistakes to correct. Tesla, if you've been paying attention, didn't follow this process. Instead, they used a model way closer to Silicon Valley software companies.
Ooh.
You fundraise, and then you develop the product using the money raised. You release the data, and as you receive bug reports, you update and change the product to correct it. This method gets you to market much faster, but it places the burden of quality control onto your customers, which is a perfectly fine model for Silicon Valley. For a car manufacturer, it meant that whenever Tesla needed new funding, they couldn't just ask people to invest based on the Roadster, since it would never be profitable, and had already cost a couple of $100 million that investors were probably never going to see again. So instead, whenever Tesla needed new investment, it had to come
Elon
up with new
took the
products
Jake Paul
that would
route.
get investors hard enough
Paul.
to squirt some of the liquidity all over Tesla's face. Whenever Tesla needed new investment, it had to come up with new products that would get investors dicks hard enough to squirt some of their liquidity all over Tesla's face.
Yeah.
This
Drama.
Silicon Valley model works well for software companies because the underlying assumption is that once the product is created and delivered to customers, the bulk of the cost stops, since duplicating software for more customers gets cheaper the more you do it. But car production costs are the exact same with every car produced. It only gets cheaper when a new line of cars is produced that uses things from the first line of cars. If you haven't seen the error with using the Silicon Valley model for the car industry, well, don't feel bad. Neither did Tesla. But they, like you, were about to find out.
Ooh. This is where they get reamed. Where they get their shit
2008 was
pushed in.
a bad year for Tesla.
Yep.
At the beginning of the year, they had delivered 100 barely functional
barely
Roadsters, which
functioning.
needed upgrading.
2008.
Because they knew the car was... 2008 was a bad year for Tesla. At the beginning of the year, they had delivered 100 barely functional Roadsters, which needed upgrading. Because they knew the car was barely functional, they did something no other car manufacturer had ever done. If your car broke down, which was pretty much all the time, Tesla would drive to your location and fix it for you at no extra cost.
See, what the fuck happened to that? What happened to that, dude? Like,
It was a decision which they would come to rue later, as cars were breaking down left, right, and center. George Clooney famously complained about...
yeah, like, so we're pretty annoyed that, our product is not that good and we refuse to take responsibility for it. So, like, we're gonna put back on what we said about, offering roadside assistance. So, like, if our product break down on you while you're driving, you're pretty much screwed, buddy. Sorry.
About it on TV with his come to rue later, as cars were breaking down left, right, and center. George Clooney famously complained about it on TV with his Tesla.
Turns out that one of Hollywood's biggest stars does not get a charge out of the town's favorite electric car. This is George Clooney. You know him from TV, movies, and being outspoken. In the new issue of Esquire, Clooney says he was one of the first people to buy a Tesla Roadster, but he said the Tesla kept breaking down, and he finally told the company, make it work. Well,
yeah, okay.
Elon kept breaking.
I like him now.
He was one of the first people to movies and being outspoken. In the new issue of Esquire, Clooney says he was one of the first people to buy a Tesla Roadster, but he said the Tesla kept breaking down, and he finally told the company, make it work. Well, that is Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla, which really doesn't need any more bad publicity. Another Tesla Model S just caught fire, the third time that's happened in 5 weeks. The company's stock is now down 26% since the end of September. Quite a sharp drop.
By September of this year, the financial system and housing markets had gone into complete meltdown, though the process had been coming for months. This meant that when Tesla held his annual series fundraiser, he raised $0. The constant breakdowns were making Tesla hemorrhage money like crazy. And by December, Tesla had no money to meet payroll.
Damn.
At this point, Musk had also assumed the role of CEO of Tesla and had been responsible for the day-to-day running of operations for a couple of months or so. Musk then did something which would become pretty controversial, though it was well hidden until much later. He took the money which customers had given to Tesla as deposits on vehicles and used it as operational income.
What the
Unlike with
fuck,
X.com,
bro?
customer deposits with Tesla were not FDIC insured. And so, if Tesla went belly up, customers would just lose their deposit money. In the event that a customer asked for their deposit back and cancelled their order, they would just lose their deposit money.
What a little
It's an extremely ethically grey area.
Oh my god.
Since that money technically didn't belong to Tesla and Musk, it was still the property of the customers until a vehicle was delivered to them.
That's insane.
After this failure to raise funds in the summer, he announced he was going to try and milk existing investors for another $20 to $30 million instead, before then putting out a press release which said, funding secured. In truth, existing investors putting out a press release for another $20 to $30 million
what happened?
instead, before then putting out a press release which said, funding secured. In truth, existing investors had not agreed to pony up the dough and were dragging their feet, maybe finally starting to see through the Smoke and Mirrors Act. To stop Tesla from sinking, Musk liquidated some of his personal...
They could smell the fucking bullshit. They got used to it.
...assets to put that money into the company. Thinking, maybe finally starting to see through the Smoke and Mirrors Act. To stop Tesla from...
Also, this shot right here, specifically this shot, is the only time I've liked the use of the green screen so far. That shit's cool. If he did more shit like this and looked directly into the camera while he talks to us like he is right now, that'd be fucking sick.
Sinking, Musk liquidated some of his personal assets to put that money into the company. And he took out some personal loans to cover his own living costs in the meantime. He also borrowed some money from SpaceX and pumped it into Tesla. SpaceX had recently received a surprise NASA contract which had suddenly flooded the SpaceX account.
Oh shit. Hold up. God damn it.
Company.
Fuck.
And he took out borrowed some money contract which had...
Worst year of my life. NASA 2008 contract. Whoa.
Suddenly flooded the SpaceX accounts. This wouldn't be the last time that the government would save Tesla or Musk, but more on that later. He then went back to investors and threatened to complete the round of financing with his own money, cutting them out entirely, which eventually forced investors to dribble $20 million.
He's out on the fucking playground just throwing sand in everyone's faces and taking their lunch money, dude.
Out of their semi-erect investor bonus. They forced investors to dribble $20 million out of their semi-erect investor bonus. Musk had saved the day, and at great personal cost to himself. Stop! This is a great story, and while Musk did actually stave off impending bankruptcy, Tesla had already been saved a year earlier by a familiar figure.
Yeah, ever hard.
So we're going to rewind time a bit to September 2007. Eberhard has not been removed as CEO yet, but he can see the writings on the wall for Tesla. Wanting to save the company that he started, he began looking at options and traveled to Washington, D.C. to speak
he bent over and he threw it back
about advanced technologies in travel. A committee in which a Daimler rep rather laughably claimed clean diesel was the future. Clean diesel didn't even exist. It was a lie.
He said, "Here, Elon."
Anyway, Martin was there to talk up the Tesla plans to open a factory in New Mexico. Martin was there to talk up the Tesla plans to open a factory in New Mexico to produce its new affordable electric sedan, which both Tesla and Musk had been teasing since way before they delivered even a single roadster.
Is that sedan
he also
even
commented that the
anymore?
US should have a vested interest in domestic EV battery production. When pressed about this further, he said, "We're not in the business of making batteries, though
Damn, dude.
I have thought about it a lot. But if nobody else steps up to the plate, and if I can figure out how to finance such a venture, I might take a swing at it. Now, if you're looking to invest about $500 million, please let me know." Prior to testifying before the subcommittee, the Department of Energy had created an as-of-yet unfunded program of very low-interest loans to support advanced transport technologies. Eberhard had already applied to this program to the tune of $350 million for the development of their affordable sedan and $100 million for domestic battery production. He knew the program already existed. He just needed to help get it funded, which is why he appeared at the subcommittee and why he had specifically mentioned affordable cars and battery production. Those were the exact things that he'd applied to be funded. His plan worked, and shortly after, Congress passed the Energy Independence and Security Act, which would provide about $25 billion in funding for advanced driving technologies.
That's sneaky, bro.
But this money wasn't available yet, and wouldn't be for quite some time. Around this time, a few companies had begun to ask Tesla about supplying battery packs for electric city cars that they were working on. Eberhard created Tesla Energy Group to handle this demand.
Fuck no.
One of the interested parties was Daimler, the automotive giant now known as Mercedes-Benz. They were interested in battery packs for a small city car that they were producing and asked Tesla to build them a prototype. Musk asked JB Straubel to knock up a quick prototype to show to some Daimler executives, who were so impressed by it that they immediately ordered 1,000 battery packs and chargers.
Damn.
Which was great for Tesla because that was actually 10 times more batteries and chargers than they'd ever made in their entire existence up to that point. This
like,
would also
finally,
satisfy
orders.
one part of the requirement for their $500 million DOE loan, which the now departed Eberhard had set up previously.
Yeah, I bet they were.
The second part was to
happy as
demonstrate
hell.
a working model of their affordable sedan. The Daimler deal, though, was immediate cash for a company which was close to closing its doors.
Yep.
Tesla still
Crazy
needed to
alone from
satisfy
the
the
DOE.
requirements for the affordable sedan in order to qualify for the DOE loan and release the money. The program required the applicant be able to show that they wouldn't need any more government funding in order to be profitable and demonstrate the car itself. This wouldn't be easy for Tesla, since Tesla had lost money every single quarter since the company started. And while it could use the excuse of being an R&D in the early years, the minute it delivered a single car to a customer, it had effectively said that it was now also a business of sales too, and would need to demonstrate profitability. To do this, Musk increased the base price of the Roadster from 85 to 92k, and then again to 109k.
Yeesh.
But it wouldn't be enough. There just weren't enough new orders on Roadsters for it to make a difference.
Yeah, no shit.
He only had a couple of options.
Price that high.
None of them were good. When the company had faced some rocky times earlier, Tesla had made an offer which said that if some customers deposited a minimum of $35,000 for a deposit, they would lock in the overall price of their vehicle. At the time, it seemed like a clever idea to raise a bit more capital, but now it meant going back to those same customers who had locked in their price and telling them that Tesla was raising their price. He also very quietly stated that some of the features which were stated as standard originally would now be paid extras.
Oh yeah?
Obviously, customers were less than happy about this, as they now had to pay more for a car which gave them less, despite paying a larger deposit to ensure that none of that would ever happen to them. This time, for the first time in fact, Musk was honest with customers as to why this was happening and sent an email saying that there is one additional point that relates to the government loans that Tesla is seeking for the Model S program, a much more affordable sedan that we're trying to bring to market as soon as possible. A key requirement is that any company applying to be able to show that it was viable without the loans. If we allow ourselves to lose money on the cars we're shipping today, we place those loans at risk. He did also use...
Oh, fuck me. God damn it. I did not mean to fat finger that.
That would be like Martin being called an early employee. Apart from me leading the Series A and B and co-leading the Series C, my influence on the car itself runs from the headlights to the styling of the door to the sill to the trunk.
Where was I at?
They would lock in the overall price of their vehicle.
There we go.
At the time, it seemed like a clever idea. Their price very quietly stated that for a car which was honest with customers as to why this was happening and sent an email saying that there is one additional affordable line to be able to show that it was viable without the loans.
Okay. If we allow, mass market electric cars have been my goal from the beginning of Tesla. I don't think the vast majority of Tesla customers want us to do anything to jeopardize that objective. Bro, you're fucking, you're a hypocrite.
If we allow ourselves to lose money on the cars we're shipping today,
that's the most hypocritical statement I've seen.
He did also use the recent charity sale of a Roadster well above its original purchase price to try and paint the Tesla as a good investment for the future. He then held some in-person town meetings with deposit holders for them to voice their annoyances. During said meetings, he would tell the story of his personal investment in Tesla and his own personal sacrifices to try and ease the tension. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Luckily for Tesla, most of these early customers were people for whom the increase represented little, if any, hardship, and so they didn't cancel. But it did damage the public image, as many of these customers voiced their annoyances on online message boards, on social media, magazines. Customers felt like they'd been clickbaited with the original offer, which actually gave them no advantage whatsoever.
Wild, dude. Funding secured again. Toyota.
Musk dipped into the funding secured
this is comprehensive. Just want to see. Yeah, this is getting crazy, dude. Not even gonna lie.
His personal investment. Sometimes it worked, and so there are no when he Musk dipped into the funding secured well again when he sent an email out to customers attempting to manage some of the public fallout with the price increases. He told the high deposit customers that Tesla had secured funding with the Obama administration in the form of the DOE loan. It hadn't, and that to say thanks to customers who had been patient, they would be offered a $10,000 reduction on a Model S, should they decide to buy one. But only on the signature model, which was the most expensive. Fast forward to June 2009, and the DOE actually did give Tesla the funding which Musk had erroneously claimed was secured in February. They did give Tesla some conditions on that loan, but we'll get to those a bit later. For now, Tesla, mostly thanks to Eberhard's forward thinking 2 years earlier, had secured a $500 million government funding. If you ask Musk today, he'll claim that the government loan didn't save Tesla, and that it was the Daimler deal which did. And I'm sure that that has nothing to do with the fact that the government loan makes Eberhard the hero, and the Daimler deal makes Musk the hero.
Get him! Get him! Yeah, that's wild, dude.
In 1990, the California Air Resources Board, CARB for short, was created to try and reduce what was then world-famous levels of air pollution. They did this with a program called Low Emission Vehicle Program, which essentially forced all car manufacturers to meet strict regulations on emissions or face stiff penalties.
My stomach is doing backflips.
Later became the Zero Emissions Vehicle Program, in which credits based on the range of a zero-emission vehicle sold were issued to the company selling it. Companies were required to hold a certain amount of these credits by the end of the year. You were penalized if you didn't hold enough.
Smiley stickers.
And if you held more credits than you needed, you could transfer or sell those credits to a company who could not or would not meet the requirement. The idea was twofold. Number one, the credit itself was designed to encourage production and sales of zero-emission vehicles. The longer the range of the vehicle, the more credits the creator would earn, pushing the industry to create more long-range vehicles as it was a more cost-effective way of meeting the restriction. 2. It would encourage investment in green technology either by converting some of your old fleet to zero emissions or buying credits from another company who had too many, thus pumping money into said company. The program is a not too bad way of regulating air pollution and generating investment without adding new taxes or subsidizing the industry with taxpayer money. It has its flaws, as all legislation does, but overall, it's been a net benefit to California and to green tech companies. During the 2008 financial crisis and Tesla's own struggles, Tesla had cut, slashed and fired the company workforce into barely a skeleton staff in order to stay afloat. It had, however, now been barely its own struggles.
When was this?
During the 2008 financial crisis and Tesla's own struggles, Tesla had cut, slashed and fired the company workforce into barely a skeleton staff in order to stay afloat. It had, however, now been given a commitment
I want to see that.
Skeleton staff in
Made money, nearly a quarter of its workforce he cut. God damn. 87 staff. 24% of the 363 person total. Company will also attempt to raise 25 million rather than the 100 million it had been seeking. Last week, Santa Rosa-based startup said it would delay production, increase production of its. Yeah, that's wild.
In order to stay afloat,
dude. Those people
it had, however, now been given a commitment by the Department of Energy to create and demonstrate their mythical affordable sedan.
They got nice
like with the days of past, Tesla was going to have to channel David Copperfield, the person this time, and put on a show of illusions.
Yeah.
Musk revealed the Tesla Model S to rapturous applause on March 26, 2009. He rolled out an admittedly sleek-looking silver sedan and told people
they were looking at the world's first
mass-production electric car. It looked good. It drove good.
It did.
And it was very well received. Behind the curtain, though, it was a similar story to the Roadster prototype a few years before. The car was essentially a roadster drivetrain sat on top of a Mercedes CLS chassis, with some modified body panels stuck to the side with magnets.
Oh god.
Like before, the car needed to be cooled with ice water in between demos because it actually wasn't a finished car, or even a finished prototype.
What I said.
But that didn't stop Musk from claiming that it would be taken to market in 2 years. It took 4. People were impressed. Even if some parts of the car stopped working mid-demo, it was less about having a product to sell and more about Musk's ability to sell it. But that was something that he was getting excessively good at.
Game developers
Despite being well received, deposits weren't as forthcoming as they had been previously, with customers still remembering that Tesla had used their deposits as operating cash before, and also hadn't delivered on any of the benefits of being an early depositor. To ease people's worries,
people started getting
Musk guaranteed all customer deposits with his own personal wealth.
Okay.
The Model S reveal did convince Daimler to buy a 9% stake in Tesla for $50 million, which helped to ease some of the Tesla bean counter worries. The Daimler deal did much more for Tesla than cash though. It gave Tesla access to Daimler's massive parts bin, allowing them to use standardized parts for their vehicles, reducing the cost of production. But it wasn't just Daimler that Tesla were borrowing from. The DOE filing also showed that Tesla had an agreement with Ford to use parts from the Ford Fusion in the exact same way. Their newest car would essentially be made up of parts scrambled from a Daimler and a Ford Fusion, rather than disrupting the motor industry.
Just Frankenstein.
Tesla was saved by it. Things were looking good, but Tesla still had to prove themselves profitable to the DOE. For the first time in Tesla history, their balance sheet denoted a profit. On $20 million revenue, they'd made $1 million in profit. Musk, as usual, claimed that it was Tesla's brilliance and his leadership for sudden, as usual, $1 revenue, they'd made $1 million.
Wow. Oh yeah, that's like a drop in the ocean.
In profit. Musk, as usual, claimed that it was Tesla's brilliance and his leadership for sudden upturn in profits. In a press release, he said that the reason for Tesla's first profitable month was down to improved quality, lower cost, and increased demand. Most people took him at his word, and the people who had invested money in Tesla were just glad to see the balance sheet turn black for once. But was Musk accurate in what he was saying? Had production become higher quality? Demand increased? Well, considering the sales for the Roadster, Tesla's only product, was $109 for the month, and the listed per car revenue was over $180,000, even though it was only priced at $109,000, it couldn't possibly have been improved sales which led to the sudden profit. So what did? Hopefully, you'll have put 2 and 2 together by now and realized the reason I told you about ZEV credits was because it had some relevance. If you did, then congratulations, you observant sausages. The following January in 2010, Tesla would file to go public, and the financial records would reveal the real reason for Tesla's sudden profit. In 2009, 85% of Tesla's gross margin was from the sales of ZEV credits. And this is where the ZEV credits reveal their flaw: their ability to hide poor financial performance. In reality, it was at best extremely misleading for Musk to tell people that the sudden profit was anything other than ZEV credits. Musk warned investors not to get too carried away and expect profitability all the time, saying Tesla would soon plunge into red. But the whole thing was never really designed for investors or the public anyway. This smoke and mirrors was all to convince the DOE that Tesla could make profitability, and then they would release the loan funds. It was a good use of the system, which worked so well that Tesla would take advantage of it many times in future to increase income and make the books look a bit more black than they really were. The only thing that Tesla needed now was a manufacturing plant. They had pursued locations before, in New Mexico under Eberhard and then again later in San Jose, but neither had panned out for a variety of reasons. Musk began conversations with the mayor of Downey, California to build a plant there, a deal which the mayor said was 99.99% done. But I guess that 0.1% was a lot more influential than he thought.
Shit. Yeah, this is really comprehensive.
I mentioned this before, but Toyota is one of the biggest and most successful car manufacturers in the world, due to its obsession with efficiency, which many other industries adopted later. But after the financial crisis of 2008, it was struggling. It had empty plants everywhere and was having to sit and testify in front of Congress over some of its vehicles unintendedly accelerating while people were driving them.
I didn't even
The scandal
hear anything
cost
about
37 people their lives
fuck?
accelerating while people were driving them. This scandal cost 37 people their lives and left Toyota's reputation in tatters. And the corporate bank accounts fairly empty from the recall of 9 million vehicles. It also had a production
still
plant
stand
in
Toyota,
Fremont,
though.
California, which it no longer needed or wanted. The plant was old and had previously been occupied by GM before Toyota, but it was still tooled for...
First car I ever had was manufactured by GM. No, that was my second car. 1988 Oldsmobile GM. Delta Royale Brougham with a coupe body. Shit was fucking mint. I miss that car so much.
for motor production. You could, in effect, move in there and begin car manufacturing.
That car actually was a fire hazard. It was overheating so bad towards the tail end that I had it. Like, oh my god.
Almost immediately with very little cost. In May 2010, Toyota struck a deal with Tesla to buy $50 million of could in a Toyota or wanted. The plant was old and had previously been occupied by GM before Toyota, but it was still tooled for motor production. You could in effect move in there and begin car manufacture almost immediately with very little cost. In May 2010, Toyota struck a deal with Tesla to buy $50 million of Tesla stock and sell the completely tooled plant to Tesla for just $42 million. For context, setting up a brand new plant and getting it ready for production was an easy $100 million plus.
Yeah, that's a deal.
Toyota would also provide some production and engineering support for the Model S and allow Tesla access to Toyota standardized parts as well. For the Model S and allow Tesla to provide some production and engineering support for the Model S and allow Tesla access to Toyota standardized parts as well.
Who did they suck off
In
at
return,
Toyota?
Tesla would jointly develop an electric car with Toyota based on one of Toyota's existing models.
That's the deal.
The deals with Daimler, Ford and Toyota gave Tesla the credibility that it was lacking in the industry, and this led to being able to strike deals with other suppliers for other things, namely a battery deal with Panasonic. Panasonic were and are leaders in the battery industry and made a deal with Tesla to become their battery supplier that would last all the way until 2014. Panasonic invested $30 million in Tesla and manufactured batteries which Tesla would assemble into packs in its Gigafactory in Reno. By the end of 2010, things were looking a lot more rosy for Tesla, and Musk began to spin a public tale of how badly Eberhard had messed up the company, and that through personal sacrifice and insane 80-hour work weeks, he had turned it all around. It's a narrative that would stick around forever. Well, till right now at least, anyway. I think it's only fair to give Musk some credit here. Because while he wasn't responsible for turning around Tesla's financial situation, he was 100% responsible for how well managed the public profile was. He tied it into his own personal profile along with SpaceX and repositioned Tesla as the Apple of motor vehicles, the trendy, high-tech brand who didn't know how to make ugly products, led by a solitary visionary who could see much farther into the future than anyone else. As long as people believe Musk's hype about himself, Tesla would have an army of unquestioning fans who would defend it through anything and excuse them through everything.
Yeah. Fucking.
Like many startups who begin as narrowly focused project companies, Tesla eventually evolved into something way bigger. Its owner and CEO, Elon Musk, had also evolved over time as well.
Thank you for the car.
From the shy, uncoached financier who stammered his way through his first tech demo into an owner and companies, Tesla. Like many startups who begin as narrowly focused project companies, Tesla eventually evolved into something way bigger. Its owner and CEO, Elon Musk, had also evolved over time as well. From the shy, uncoached financier who stammered his way through his first tech demo into an extremely capable digital Pied Piper, happily leading an army of tech bros into his lair. Tesla Motors went public in June of 2010, raising $220 million. At that time, a lot of business and stock analysts placed very little faith in Tesla. Seasoned market movers looked at Tesla's shaky balance sheets, poor quality record, and
like,
placed a very pessimistic performance rating on the stock. But the Pied Piper of Tesla knew exactly how to handle it. He went on CNBC and mocked his critics live on air, and his oblivious children loved him for it.
Fucking ate it
This
up.
ability to control public narrative would be Musk's most useful attribute for the rest of his business career. Though Tesla had started to turn around and finally making a small profit, he told the public and investors that as Tesla was working on the Model S and expanding and retooling manufacturing, they'd have to rub the dollar signs out of their eyes. Which was not entirely true. Roadster sales had declined through 2009 and 2010, even though Tesla had finally got manufacturing under control to the point where consistency was now achieved. But, as with the Roadster, Musk & Co. had drastically underestimated the cost of developing the Model S, since it wasn't sharing any of the parts of the Roadster platform. Tesla was still also heavily invested in servicing all of the Roadsters which were still breaking down.
Okay.
This was expanding Tesla's costs rapidly, taking a $155 million loss in 2010, which became $250 million in 2011, and $400 million in 2012.
That's fucking insane.
Million
Oh. Yeesh.
in 2011, and $400 million in 2012. But thanks to all the recent capital investments from Daimler and Toyota deals, the DOE loan, and the IPO sale, Tesla had an enormous $800 million bonfire crackling away. And they shoveled on another $400 million throughout 2011 and 12 through annual fundraising. For the first 3 years as a public company, the stock price barely moved, just as analysts predicted that it wouldn't. What they were wrong about was why. They had thought it was Tesla's atrocious financials which was putting off market investment. But the DOE loan, which had literally stopped Tesla from going bankrupt, now threatened to strike.
Look at this shit.
Wrong about price barely moved.
Like if you invested any time from here to here, dude, all you had to do was wait. If you were the average person, invested like, I don't know, anywhere from like 100 to like $300 to like 100 to 500 even in this time period, average person in the stock market, ooh, he'd be sitting pretty, especially right now.
Analysts predicted that it wouldn't. What they were wrong about was why. They had thought it was Tesla's atrocious financials which was putting off market investment. But the DOE loan, which had literally stopped Tesla from going bankrupt, now threatened to strangle the business.
Yeah.
When the loan was offered at a very, very low rate of interest, far lower than any other financier or institution would have offered at that time, when it was offered, it came with some conditions. I told you we were going to come back to this.
Read
the first condition was that the DOE would be allowed to buy 3 million shares of common stock at a price of $7.54. But that wouldn't become active until 2018.
That's a goddamn
Second
deal.
condition heavily restricted the types of debt that Tesla could take on, which forced Tesla into issuing new stock and diluting existing investors whenever they needed more money. The final condition was that Musk had to retain 65% of the stock personally, and the company could not be sold. All these measures were designed to protect the taxpayer-funded bailout that the government had given Tesla and make sure that they didn't get shafted. But they were bad for Tesla once it went public, because new investors weren't too keen to take on stock, knowing that if it did well, that in 2018 the government would take 3 million shares at an extremely low price and dilute their investment. Because of Tesla's difficulty turning a profit, the only realistic way investors would see a return on their investment, assuming that the company financial performance stayed as it was, would be to sell the company.
Dude,
but the DOE agreement prohibited that.
Sucks on the
While
fake
Musk often
table.
tells the story of how he never checked out of Tesla because he believed in it, the reality is he legally couldn't. He was stuck until the DOE loan was completely paid off. Over the next 3 years, Tesla would request waivers from the government excusing some of the terms of the loan. Most of the times it was just regarding the strictness of financial reporting, indicating that Tesla was expecting some rocky waters.
I can't afford it.
The government conceded each time, but only in exchange for Tesla bringing forward the loan repayment schedule, which they did. Tesla finally delivered the customer-ready Model S in June of 2012. It was well received by muskrats. I'm coining that phrase, since he is the Pied Piper. His followers are muskrats.
I love that.
Who raved about the car all over social media. Magazines and trade shows all gave it rave reviews as well. But despite the glowing public reception, sales were far lower than expected, about $20 million lower. With its deals with Daimler and Toyota coming to an end, Tesla was heading back to burning the red candles again after its brief stint in the black.
Yeah.
As with the Roadster, Tesla had underestimated how expensive the Model S would be to make. Initially, the price for the affordable sedan was set at $57,400. Musk continually called it below $50,000, but rarely ever mentioned that the price that he was quoting was after the government tax credit for new EVs had been deducted. Tesla quickly had to revert to type and increase the price by $2,500 to try and push the Model S toward profitability. In reports to the DOE, Musk mentioned that they couldn't ramp up production as they promised because they had learned from the Roadster that it was better to get a quality car out first time than to have to keep issuing changes and updates, and so now they were focused on quality rather than speed.
Yeah, sure.
This was why they couldn't meet their projected production schedule. That turned out to be a lie as well.
Yep.
It wasn't long after customers received their cars. They also flooded online message boards and forums with reports about quality issues.
Yep.
Missing software features, poorly fitted body panels, and reports of
my
creaking
car
noises coming
frozen
from the
over?
chassis were the most common reports. In the third quarter of the year, Tesla was running into cash flow issues again and asked the DOE to relax a restriction on asset-to-debt ratio that they were unlikely to meet anyway. The DOE agreed, but again asked Tesla to move forward its repayment schedule. Again, Tesla agreed. There is a story that Tesla likes to tell about how it repaid its DOE loan early because of how well the
paid off the entire loan awarded to the company by the Department of Energy, in addition to payments made in... Okay, so they're basically saying that they paid off all their shit. Following this payment, Tesla will be the only American car company to fully repay the government. That's a bold statement. For the first 7 years since founding, Tesla was funded entirely with private funds led by Elon. That's false. Tesla brought, because it wasn't just Elon, it was like a bunch of different fucking sources. Tesla brought its Roadster sports car to market with a 30% gross margin. It designed electric powertrains for Daimler, Mercedes, and a done preliminary design of the Model S, all before receiving a government loan. Tesla was awarded a milestone-based loan. Yeah, this is shit that we already have gone through. This program was signed into law by President Bush in 2008 and awarded under the Obama administration and the years that followed. This program is often confused with the financial bailouts provided to the then bankrupt GM and Chrysler, who were ineligible for the ATVM program because a requirement that program was good financial health. Loan payment was made today using a portion of the approximately $1 billion in funds raised in last week's concurrent offerings of common stock and convertible senior notes. Elon, I can't read the rest because it's fucking covered. Yeah, he purchased $100 million of common equity, the least secure portion of the offering.
The company was doing and how they were the only American car company to do so. But you should have noticed by now from the story so far that actually Tesla never did this by choice.
Yeah,
it was forced upon them in exchange for concessions in the loan agreement. Tesla issued by choice. It was forced upon them in exchange for concessions in the loan agreement.
Okay.
Tesla issued another stock sale in October 2012 for $225 million, with Musk saying it was just risk aversion, though the company did manage to hold on to $200 million of that by the end of the year.
Okay.
However, accounts payable was about to drain most of it, so Musk rolled out his medicine wagon and started pitching. The company started contacting reservation holders and asking them to move forward their deliveries and pay in full in order to receive the $7,500 tax credit on their taxes for 2012. Tesla told customers that they would get the credit on an undelivered car as long as it was paid for, in what they said was a clever circumvention of the credit system. This was a lie.
Yeah.
The IRS had said pretty clearly that the tax credit would only apply in the year that the car was placed into service with the customer, not when it was paid for. By the end of the year, Musk, with now almost empty cash reserves at Tesla, was telling analysts and investors that they were not demand constrained, but were intentionally holding back production. Which kind of made sense because they did have a huge backlog of production
What the
queues.
fuck is he holding? Like a
As usual,
Wii
though,
joystick?
the truth
An
was a bit less
aftermarket Wii?
intentional.
It's like a Switch remote?
According to some
yeah.
Tesla factory managers, the real problem was that factories were waiting for customers to choose their configurations for their vehicles. There were so many options to choose from that people were simply taking their time to choose, or they were waiting for their preferred choice. This problem was solved and deposits were converted to sales when the factory removed all the color choices except one, red. Ironically, the
What?
color which had flooded Tesla accounts in the past was also going to be the reason for the books turning black again.
Yeah.
This one change brought about $321 million in March and made the accounts much healthier. Losing patience with the slow customers, Tesla also changed their deposit system. It was no longer a refundable deposit and instead became a prepayment system, which was non-refundable. This eliminated the need for deposit cash reserves and also converted to sales immediately.
Let me go pre-order this
That
car real quick.
$321 million income gave Tesla $11 million in profit that month. It's a pretty miraculous month, really. When Tesla posted huge Q1 profits, the Muskrats went wild and immediately started telling everyone how great Tesla was, and this online word of mouth fire plus the sexy looking liquidity stained balance sheets sent the stock into overdrive. Sold $1 billion worth of stock in a month.
Dude.
Tesla used the money to pay off its DOE loan and free itself of its government shackles. With the market setting fire to Tesla stock and Musk being a 65% owner, thanks to the government forcing him to be, Musk had just had a main vein hit of financial success. His neurons fired and his pupils dilated like saucers, and an electric...
Musk just fucking injected straight fire fentanyl right into the main vein. That Tesla fentanyl.
Current flooded through his body. He picked up the phone and told...
In Minecraft. In GTA. I should clarify.
His PR team they were going to make an announcement every week. They were going to make the Model S cost $500. They were going to make a zombie-proof charging center. They were going to create battery swap stations which would replace a Tesla battery faster than it took to fill a car with gasoline. They were going to make an autopilot system that would drive the car on a proof charge.
Here's where
they were
all
going
the
to
empty
make
promises
the
come
PR
in.
team electric current. His neurons. Musk had just had a main vein hit of financial success. His neurons fired and his pupils dilated like saucers, and an electric current flooded through his body. He picked up the phone and told his PR team they were going to make an announcement every week. They were going to make the Model S cost $500. They were going to make a zombie-proof charging center. They were going to create battery swap stations which would replace a Tesla battery faster than it took to fill a car with gasoline. They were going to make an autopilot system that would drive the car on its own in 90% of weather and road conditions with no driver input. They were going to tell everyone that the Model S had earned the highest safety rating of any car ever tested.
That's like the 5-year-old at every family get-together that runs around and is like, my uncle's a secret agent. Did you know that my uncle actually worked for the FBI, and I have like $1 million, and I also have like a secret room in my house, and that's what this reminds me of.
Actually, that last one was an outright lie and prompted the National Highway Traffic Safety Admin to issue a warning to Musk to not say that again, ever. He also said he was going to design and build a futuristic mode of high-speed vacuum-sealed travel, which he called Hyperloop.
That
That was back in 2013.
Yeah, I remember when that was announced.
2022, and Hyperloop still doesn't exist.
Still doesn't exist now.
Build a tunnel with Las Vegas tax money, though. He said,
yeah.
and does say, a lot of things.
And that tunnel doesn't even get fucking used,
it's
really. It's
wild exaggeration, and some of it is crack-infused delusional fantasy. But it didn't really matter for the muskrats. It confirmed everything that they already believed. Elon Musk was a billionaire genius inventor. If he wasn't a genius, then why was he a billionaire? And he'd clearly earned that status because you don't become a billionaire if you don't deserve it.
Yeah.
Right?
Whatever.
Tesla stock quickly went from around $40 per share to $190 a share.
Jesus
Musk's
Christ.
personal fortune grew from $1 billion to $5.5 billion, and other Tesla investors saw huge increases in their personal wealth.
That's
the taxpayers who saved the company weren't as fortunate. While the DOE loan was repaid with $12 million of interest as well, the fact it was repaid early meant that the government never got its hands on those 3 million shares at $9 a share, which would have seen a return of over $1 billion profit on the loan investment. But
Jesus Christ.
That's the DOE's fault for insisting on being repaid early. In a clear example of just how stock market performance doesn't necessarily correlate with a healthy company, Tesla ended up losing $74 million that year, even though the stock went through the roof, making stockholders very wealthy. But it didn't matter much.
Yeah.
I mean, after the financial crash of 2008, the resulting bailout had broken public faith in big institutions. Tesla gave them something to believe in.
Of course it did. Muskrats.
I've only really alluded so far to the huge public support for Tesla
really likes that
and
term.
Musk, and I've made it seem as though it's pretty organic. But some of it is pretty orchestrated. You see, over time, a small community of people had been building online, of Tesla and Musk supporters. An echo chamber of people devoted solely to Musk and Tesla praise and pushing. Forums, bloggers, websites, reviewers, YouTubers started popping up left, right, and center to give Tesla unequivocal praise and to ruthlessly shut down criticism, even valid criticism. Now, some of this was just people who had bought into the Musk and Tesla mythology and really did believe that if they just worked 623 hours a day like Musk, they too would be a billionaire.
Yeah, Musk does not even fucking... Oh, that's so... Don't make me get into this. He does not even work fucking 40-hour weeks. The last time he probably even worked anything resembling close to that shift-wise was... I don't even know. When he was like a teenager, maybe?
We'll call this breed the fervent muskrat. But there is also a huge chunk of muskrats who have a vested interest in Tesla's success, because they hold positive stock options in it. Ironically, it's this breed of muskrat, we'll call these the two-faced muskrat, which will usually shut down criticism of Tesla or Musk by saying that the criticizer must be a short seller, looking to hurt Tesla stock and make a quick buck, or that they're just jealous of Daddy Musk's big bank account.
Yeah, for real.
This breed actually hurts the Tesla customer. Let me explain. During 2014, a man called Keith Leach noticed that wrecked Tesla Model S cars had a recurring fault, wheels being sheared off at the suspension arm.
Ooh.
When Edward Niedermeyer investigated this further, it seemed to be a fault that Tesla was aware of, as they were offering free upgrades to Model S customers in exchange for signing an NDA. That's a non-disclosure agreement.
That's fucking dirty. What the fuck? Yeah, so like, if you sign this NDA and don't tell people that like a product almost killed you, we'll like fix it for you. All you have to do is just like keep your lips sealed, and we will take care of it for you. It's ridiculous.
And never talking about the work that Tesla was doing with anyone.
That's fucked.
They even did this with people who were involved in crashes of Model S cars, which showed the same fault, assuming they survived the crash.
That's terrible.
Signing this NDA prevented the customer from reporting the fault to the National Highway Traffic Safety Admin, whose job it was to track faults leading to accidents and force companies to rectify them.
That is
or punish
fucked
them,
up.
which meant the NHTSA had no record of this fault, which could potentially lead to accidents and death.
Yeah.
And so, they couldn't warn owners that they could be driving a death trap.
Oh my god.
This would mean the NHTSA would have only one source of record for Tesla faults: Tesla themselves. And they weren't about to tell people they were driving unsafe cars.
Yeah. Let's save
Ed
face before
Niedermeyer took
doing
this
that.
info to the NHTSA and reported it. The NHTSA then announced that they were looking into the issue and asked owners to come forward. They also warned Tesla that the NDA they were asking people to sign was unacceptable, as it was lowering regulation and monitoring of Tesla safety standards. Musk responded in usual fashion, by bending the truth. The NHTSA, like many government organisations, has a policy of not discussing ongoing investigations. And so there were no updates, which left the door open for Musk to say that they didn't find anything wrong, otherwise they'd be talking about it. Knowing full well that by the time they completed their investigation and warned him to stop lying, he would already have changed public perception. Sure, they would fine him for misleading people, but that fine would be pocket change anyway, so it was better to change the perception and take the fine, as that was less damaging. His muskrats scrambled to his aid and started attacking Niedermeyer and Leach, spreading the false rumour that they were both Tesla short sellers. They weren't. Even after Niedermeyer publicly stated that he held no position in Tesla and was just a journalist, they...
Oh, I can't even read this all. Just listen to homie.
False rumour that they were both to his aid
Cutting us
and
off.
started attacking Niedermeyer and Leach, spreading the false rumour that they were both Tesla short sellers.
Okay.
They weren't. Even after Niedermeyer publicly stated that he held no position in Tesla and was just a journalist, they still told everyone that he was a short seller, spreading FUD to tank the stock. This shutting down of valid criticism not only prevented customers from making informed decisions about buying a vehicle, prevented a governing body from being able to do their job.
Yep.
I want to be pretty clear here. The criticism is not that Tesla had a car fault. All car manufacturers have faults at some point or another.
Tesla was
that's
right
normal,
in that line.
happens. And it's actually a good thing that they were proactively fixing it instead of waiting for crashes to happen and a national recall to be issued. That's a good thing, which Tesla genuinely deserves credit for. The problem is the use of fixing it instead of waiting. All car manufacturers have faults at some point or another. That's normal, that happens. And it's actually a good thing that they were proactively fixing it instead of waiting for crashes to happen and a national recall to be issued. That's a good thing, which Tesla genuinely deserves credit for. The problem is the use of an NDA to hide the problem.
Okay.
That's the criticism. Tesla has a long history of restricting access to crash history and manufacturing defects, as you'll see soon. This isn't the only reason the two-faced muskrat was a problem. The other reason was their motivation for behaving this way. They held stock positions in Tesla, undeclared stock positions, which gave the impression that they were a neutral party. But really, any negative story about Tesla had the potential to drop the stock price and cost them money.
I remember that.
So
very well.
They shut down all criticism.
He would fucking tweet some crazy shit, and then Tesla stock price would like pretty much double overnight. Like when he went on the fucking Joe Rogan podcast and like hit that fucking blunt that actually no, I remember when he hit that blunt that dropped stock prices, but anytime he would tweet like some crazy ass shit, it would raise it. I think the blunt was after though.
Criticism, even valid ones, which might have saved somebody's life. These muskrats also have referral codes in their videos, articles, and websites.
Very much like the referral codes that the Andrew Tate fiends post on their shit.
Which give them a kickback when people bought Tesla products, just like back in the XCOM days. So, of course they weren't going to allow FUD talk about Tesla. The two-faced muskrat is a deadly breed. On a side note, Anyone whose net worth is tied to a particular company
mate.
cannot really be trusted when speaking about said company.
Muskrat.
You should keep that in mind.
Solar City.
Encouraging solar power is a good goal. Fossil fuels won't last forever, and they're killing the planet,
like
so shifting away from them
the Solar City
is a good
solution.
thing. Wind, solar, and tidal are 3 types of never-ending clean power, but they all share a common problem. They're inconsistent.
Yeah,
if it's not sunny, you get less power. If it's not windy, you get less power.
Do it efficiently.
This, coupled with the rapidly changing demand on the grid, makes them a bit less useful for powering a city, for example. The sun tends to be down when the grid demand is the strongest. When we all come home from work and we want to watch Netflix.
We'll be able to utilize it efficiently in like 50 years when it's like 80 degrees out every day, everywhere.
Or steal old Reddit memes and pretend that they're our own. There really is only one solution to this, and that's to store the energy collected in the daytime. But that's not as simple as just having a battery. Discharging and charging batteries over short periods of time can damage the battery's ability to hold a charge. Actually, the research isn't exactly settled on this. It can be conflicting. It was certainly true of older lead-acid batteries, but it's not been conclusively proven with lithium-ion batteries. But considering we're talking about power in a city and people's lives, we should always assume the worst-case scenarios and plan.
That's crazy, powering a city off of a lithium-ion battery pack. What a fucking concept.
Accordingly. So battery tech really isn't there enough for us to depend on renewable energy for all of our needs right now. Also, solar has its own specific problem. Solar cells are only about 19% efficient on average. To date, there has never been a solar cell which is more than 22.9% efficient. This is partly because of the design of materials, but also because solar cells need to be positioned just so, in order to catch the sun's energy.
Correct.
When Musk claimed that Tesla were going to create a zombie-proof charging station, what he meant was stations that require no daily maintenance because they're solar-powered. It's a good idea, but for the reason I just talked about, it's impossible with today's technology.
Yeah.
Think about this. If we eliminate fossil fuels and rely just on solar,
as Musk suggests, for a long time,
you would need to service, maybe 10 cars per hour, which each take up 50 kilowatts an hour charge, which adds up to 5 megawatts per hour. A solar array, in ideal conditions, can only provide 1 kilowatt an hour of energy, which would mean the Tesla zombie-proof solar array would need to be more than an acre big to meet its needs. In ideal hour charge, would need to serve fossil fuels and rely just on solar. As Musk suggests, you would need to service, maybe 10 cars per hour, which each take up 50 kilowatts an hour charge, which adds up to 5 megawatts per hour.
Okay.
A solar array, in ideal conditions, can only provide 1 kilowatt an hour of energy, which would mean the Tesla zombie-proof solar array would need to be more than an acre big to meet its needs.
Oh.
That's a solar array the size of 16 tennis courts to charge.
Yeah, I have not seen any Tesla charging stations that big. That's excessive. I'm glad I haven't seen any that big, an acre. Holy fuck.
10 cars an hour.
That sounds like a dystopia.
The technology just isn't there yet. Which I guess is why Elon invested in Solar City, right? If this feels like I'm going off on a tangent and leaving the Tesla story incomplete, don't worry. The two are linked. I'm not George R. R. Martin. Solar City is a company started by two brothers, Peter and Lyndon Rive. I don't know how you say the name, so we're just going to call them Rive. Who are Elon Musk's cousins. Musk gave them $10 million investment to start the company. On the Elon Rive.
Look at these goobers. Look at this fucking dude. That dude looks like Elon. That guy's got like Minecraft jaw going on. He's doing it to him, dude. He's fucking flexing that watch. Look at this shit, bro. Look at this pose. What is this pose, dude? They're flexing. They're stunting, dude. He's like doing the fucking Slav squat. Ew. That's hard. Like, this could be an album cover. Low key. That's crazy. Shit goes hard.
Rive. I don't know how you say the name, so we're just going to call them Rive. Who are Elon Musk's cousins. Musk gave them $10 million investment to start the company, on the condition that he be named as chairman?
Of course.
This was in
God,
2006.
he's such a petty bitch.
Despite the noise that Musk and SolarCity would make about them creating new solar tech, they were actually just a solar installation company building and installing other companies' technology into consumer homes. The company did pretty well and grew into the nation's second biggest solar maintenance and installation company by 2014.
Damn.
Despite being the second biggest installation company in the US and making record income levels of just over $200 million, the company was bleeding money and made a net loss of just under $400 million. In 2015, the company slashed its workforce by 22% and its two main executives, the brothers Reeve, cut their pay from $200,000 a year to $1 a year instead.
Oh my God.
Which is genuinely commendable, and it's the same action that I'd take if it was my company in trouble. The question is why? Why was the second biggest installation company in the US in so much trouble? One reason for this was their deal with Walmart in 2012 to supply and fit solar panels to the store roofs.
Tweeted with excitement that Tesla Solar is relaunching. Walmart is suing Tesla over...
The fires are symptoms of broad systematic issues arising from Tesla's failure to abide by prudent industry practices. Oh, shit. Damn, so I wonder how many Walmarts this happened to where the roofs were just straight up catching on fucking fire. Jesus
company
Christ.
In the US in so much trouble. One reason for this was their deal with Walmart in 2012 to supply and fit solar panels to the store roofs.
Tweeted with excitement that Tesla Solar is relaunching. Walmart is suing Tesla over solar. Walmart is claiming that Tesla-owned Solar City panels are the cause of roof fires at 7 Walmart stores. And Walmart is alleging, quote, gross negligence on Tesla's part. The AP is reporting that inspections found that several of those solar panels had loose wires and caused a fire hazard. Not too good for Elon Musk and for Tesla.
And shining a light on the repeated quality control issues which residential customers had already been complaining about. A larger reason for the rocky finances of SolarCity up until that point was their debt sheet.
Okay.
By 2015, the debt the company was carrying had ballooned to almost $1.3 billion. Most likely as a result of their plan of aggressive expansion and their ongoing problem. Most likely the debt...
God damn. That's gnarly.
The company was carrying had ballooned to almost $1.3 billion. Most likely as a result of their plan of aggressive expansion and their ongoing problems with the Gigafactory in Buffalo, where SolarCity had been given a truly spectacular deal on a lease for a brand new factory. And all they had to do was hit the production numbers they'd promised to hit and create the jobs that they promised to create. The factory didn't open until 2017, and because the company wasn't meeting its obligations, the state wasn't releasing the promised funds, which meant that SolarCity was still paying the lease for the factory, but it wasn't being used.
Nice.
They had also acquired more debt to buy machinery for the factory. SolarCity was in big trouble and just accumulating more and more and more debt.
About to be
By
another stepping
mid-2016,
stone
it had $3.1 billion in debt, weighing the company down.
Jesus.
And even SpaceX buying $90 million of SolarCity stock couldn't help. You might argue SpaceX made a terrible investment choice, and you might ask why.
Is it just me, or does he look just fucking blitzed here, dude? Homie looks so gone. Oh my goodness.
Why in the hell they would
Maybe he just has glaucoma, I don't know.
invest in a company performing so badly? And I'm sure that it definitely has nothing to do with the fact that the main investor and chairman of both companies invest in a company made dollars of SolarCity stock.
Fucking made this
in the company down. And even SpaceX buying $90 million of SolarCity stock couldn't help.
Watch.
You might argue SpaceX made a terrible investment choice, and you might ask why in the hell they would invest in a company performing so badly.
No way, he's not.
And I'm sure that it definitely has nothing to do with the fact that the main investor and chairman of both companies is Elon Musk. It wasn't long until David Copperfield returned with his magic pipe. Yeah, I know I'm mixing metaphors. To rescue SolarCity from certain ruin.
And used your magic
Late
pipe.
2016, SolarCity was almost insolvent and ready to file Chapter 11 when Musk dipped into his bag of tricks. SolarCity needed bailing out, and luckily for Musk and his new army of muskrats, there was a solution. The muskrats For legacy investors of Tesla, they were well aware of Musk's habit of inventing impossible products to drum up new business, and quite a few were unsurprised when Musk and SolarCity announced, rather fittingly on the set of a TV show with fake houses, a new product: solar shingle tiles.
Oh my
now
god.
Your house didn't have to look awful when it had solar panels, because the panels were shaped like shingle tiles.
What the
houses
fuck is this yuppie bullshit? I never saw or heard anything about that. What is that? Ew. That looks like shit. God. Fuck. I'm glad this, like, if I ever pull up to somebody's house and I see this shit, I'm fucking turning around and getting back in my car. God.
Awful when it had solar panels, because the panels were shaped like shingle tiles. The houses on the set had those
Look at the way he's
solar
like
panels, because the panels.
and
Now your house didn't have to look awful when it had solar panels, because the panels were shaped like shingle tiles. The houses on the set had those very tiles installed and were powering the set that day. Everyone was wildly impressed with Musk's brand new invention. Except maybe NASA, who invented the shingle tiles back in the 1970s.
See, he doesn't fucking invent anything, dude. He does not fucking invent anything. Look at this patent. 1977. Jesus. What a fucking joke. United States of America. Yep. Look at that. A solar cell shingle may be made of an array of solar cells on a lower portion of a substantially rectangular shingle substrate made of fiberglass cloth or the like. The solar cells may be encapsulated in fluorinated ethylene, propylene, or some other weatherproof, translucent or transparent encapsulant to form a combined electrical module and a roof shingle. The interconnected solar cells are connected to connectors at the edge of the substrate through a connection to a common electrical bus or buses. An overlap area is arranged to receive the overlap of a cooperating similar shingle, okay, so that the cell portion of the cooperating shingle may overlie the overlap area of the roof shingle. Accordingly, the same shingle serves the double function of an ordinary roof shingle, which may be applied in the usual way, and an array of cooperating solar cells from which electrical energy may be collected. Yeah, that's literally it. He just copied their shit and tried to write it off like he fucking made it.
The only problem with this was that it was a lie. One of the reasons NASA abandoned the project in the 70s is they realized that it would never be commercially viable, because solar panels had to be facing a particular way and at a certain angle to even meet the 19% efficiency, which was the industry average. Shingle tiles are laid too flat,
out on it.
And unless you build those houses with this in mind, which literally zero houses are, they would also be likely to be facing the wrong way most of the time. The project was Musk's usual smoke and mirrors. Many other bigger, more experienced companies, including NASA, had tried solar shingle tiles and failed, with some going bankrupt in the process. That didn't stop Musk from announcing that SolarCity had invented it though, and that they were working right now.
Can we make a French slate roof that's solar that looks as good or better than a conventional?
See, okay, that doesn't look bad. That doesn't look as bad as I thought it would, but still at the same time, I don't know if it's just me, but you can see like a blur.
Can we make a
on
French slate
like it,
roof that's
you can tell that it's
can we make a
digital
French slate roof that's solar that looks as good or better than a conventional French slate roof?
The reason the solar
what was
better
that?
than a conventional French slate roof.
God damn.
That's solar that looks as good or better than a conventional French slate roof.
Oh, I can't.
That's solar that looks as good or better than a conventional French slate roof.
Yeah, like if you go and you look at the sheen here, it just fucking looks weird I don't know.
The reason the solar panels on the set look so strikingly similar to ordinary house tiles is because they were.
Oh my god, they didn't even use they didn't use their fucking product. They duped everyone and they used actual fucking roof tiles. What the fuck? They literally lie about everything. God damn. Tesla spokesman told us the event was specifically described as an unveil event in invitations and not as a product launch because it was never intended to show a production-ready product. Regarding the realness of the solar roof tiles revealed at Universal Studios. They did it at Universal Studios, dude. That's a red flag in itself. That's insane. Which is to say, yes, the solar roof tiles on the fake houses, on the fake street, on the movie set at Universal Studios were probably just as fake as everything there. But it wasn't a misdirection. The same spokesman told us the following tweets from Elon corroborated the event was never intended to be a product launch. Bullshit, dude. Are you kidding me? In the UK, 800-pound deposits for reservations are actively being taken on Tesla's website. Wow, dude. That's crazy.
Musk, however, told the audience,
Like, the interesting thing is the houses you see around you are all solar houses. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you, did you notice? Yeah. Solar houses.
Bullshit.
I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you, did you know it? Houses you see around you are all solar houses. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you, did you notice?
Did you notice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
the timing of this tech demo was curiously close to what many people assumed was Musk's real goal, a shareholder vote on Tesla acquiring Solar City.
So fucking over him.
When Musk pitched the idea of Tesla acquiring Solar City, most of the executive shareholders voted no. Musk pulled out his flute and summoned the muskrats. And the muskrats, who were now...
Musk pulled out his flute
and summoned the muskrats. And the muskrats, who were now non-executive shareholders in Tesla, started dancing.
Of course.
A vote to acquire Solar City passed, and Tesla paid $2.6 billion to acquire Solar
Step on
City
me, Daddy.
and also move its $3 billion debt onto Tesla. According to Reuters, Elon Musk received $3 billion debt onto Tesla to acquire. A vote to acquire Solar City passed, and Tesla paid $2.6 billion to acquire Solar City and also move its $3 billion debt onto Tesla. According to Reuters, Elon Musk received $13 billion for the sale of Solar City. Had Musk been unable to convince the muskrats to vote in favor of the purchase, it would have cost him money. Instead, he made $13 billion from the sale of an almost bankrupt company. He was later sued by the other members of the Tesla board who claimed that he was clearly in conflict. Musk argued that just because he was going to lose shitloads of money if the deal failed and make billions if it succeeded, it wasn't evidence that he was conflicted.
Yeah, sure.
Eventually, a judge would rule that the deal was valid, despite noting Musk's clear conflict of interest. The correct diligence had been followed, and the Tesla board had stood up to Musk a few times during negotiations, proving that he didn't have undue influence.
You guys a fucking bully.
One of the other ideas that Musk had proposed during his crack-like high after Tesla's stock boom was a battery swap station, which customers could drive up to and swap out low batteries for a fully charged one in less time than it took to fill a tank full of gas.
You know what I mean.
This was genuinely a good idea and solved the waiting problem of charging up to and swap out low. Stock boom was a battery swap station, which customers could drive up to and swap out low batteries for a fully charged one in less time than it took to fill a tank full of gas.
Okay.
This was genuinely a good idea and solved the waiting problem of charging electric cars. Except, this wasn't his idea either. In 2013, an Israeli startup company called Project Better Place first suggested the idea of battery swap stations.
Let me borrow
It didn't
your
pan out well for them,
homework.
but we'll get into the reasons why later. Regardless of who came up with the idea, it was still a good idea, and Tesla had seemed to be committed to it as early as 2014. In fact, Tesla had already announced that they would offer this feature by appointment, only at specific times and only to specific owners as part of a pilot scheme.
Okay.
In his book Ludicrous, Edward Niedermeyer visited the Harris Ranch station during one of these pilot drives to see how the whole thing worked. Despite waiting there all day, there were 0 battery swaps, even though there was a long queue of people waiting to use the superchargers.
Go figure.
At one point, a Tesla employee showed up to address the increased demand by charging people's cars using a diesel power generator.
No fucking
Niedermeyer
shot.
quizzed the people who were waiting there for a vacant charging station as to why they weren't using the battery swap option, as this was the time that the Tesla test pilot was happening. They all replied that they had not been invited into the pilot program despite being Tesla owners who lived in the area, had expressed an interest in it, and used that that charging station all the time. He stayed there and talked to people for 4 days, always receiving the same response. They were not invited to use the swap program. Later in 2015, Elon was asked about the pack swap program at the Tesla shareholder meeting in June, to which he replied,
all Model S owners in the sort of California area have been invited at this point to try it out. And what we're seeing is just a very low take rate for the pack swap station. So we did an initial round of invitations where we did basically like 200 invitations. And I think there were a total of 4 or 5 people that wanted to do that. And they all did it just once. Group. It's just people don't care about pack swap.
so what the hell happened? 2 things. Number 1, California had revised its ZEV credits program in 2013, stating that the cars demonstrating that they could charge to full in under 15 minutes would earn nearly double credits, meaning more credits for Tesla to sell to other companies. To earn this increase, you only had to demonstrate that it was possible to do it, not that it regularly happened. By 2015, the California Air Resources Board had become concerned about the Tesla program's ability to game the system and changed the restrictions so that only vehicles which documented a certain number of instances would qualify for double credits.
Good on them.
Suddenly, Teslas didn't qualify for the double credits anymore.
Good.
But why wouldn't the company still pursue the pack swap program anyway, since it would still be a money spinner once it was up and running? Well, this brings me to point number 2. It was because Tesla likely realized they were going to get shafted on the whole pack swapping idea. See, should a customer
They saw it coming.
come to use a pack swapping station with a faulty pack, they would be swapping out a faulty pack for a brand new one, or at the very least a used but functional one, leaving the cost of repairing or replacing the pack with Tesla. And Tesla wouldn't even realize about it until after the customer had left the station, getting themselves a shiny new pack worth $4,000 for the price of a tank of gas.
Damn.
But instead of admitting that it was a flawed concept, Elon spun this yarn that there was no consumer demand when there quite clearly was. I mean, why would anybody prefer to use the supercharger, which still took 30 minutes, over a 2-minute pack change?
Yeah, for real.
Just such obvious bullshit. Tesla had managed to game the system for 2 years, however, by simply demonstrating one car doing one pack change one time and earned double credits on all Teslas sold, earning them about $100 million extra with a scheme that under scrutiny seemed to have never been intended for consumer use.
That's
wild. 2 of Elon's wild-eyed promises, which in fact turned out to be at best misguided, but most likely just a lie. But another one of his promises would come to be a reality.
Which one?
Sort of. Once upon a time, just as Tesla was trying to free itself from its DOE loan, Musk had approached Google to sell the company to them for $6 billion. Why isn't something anyone really knows. Ashley Vance states in his book that Musk offered Tesla to Google and asked that they not break the company up and that they give him 8 years running the Google-owned Tesla to finally get a mainstream market car to market. I can take a guess at why Musk might have made this offer, assuming that he did. After years of running the fundraising hamster wheel, he realized that being owned by one of the world's richest companies would mean never having to spin that wheel anymore, and never having to make more wild promises. He could just focus on the projects that he wanted to do. Which seems like a fair assumption after the chaos that he'd been working in for the last couple of years. Larry Page actually made the offer that Musk was asking for, and then the stock took off. Tesla repaid the DOE loan and Musk called off the sale. Sergey Brin and Larry Page, and Google in general, had been involved in Tesla's fundraising in the past, and in the process Musk and they had become acquaintances, if not friends. As a technology company, Musk was always really interested in the various crazy programs that Google was researching. Two programs in particular caught his eye. One, a robotics project run by the now Google-owned Boston Dynamics, and self-driving cars. Google had been developing the self-driving car since 2009, using a variety of different methods to try and achieve it. They had made excellent strides, and even though it was widely just considered to be a pet project at Google and not something which would be commercially viable, it remained interesting in general. Google had also toyed with the idea of making the self-driving car into an electric robo-taxi that would be funded by advertising and therefore be free at the point of use for the customer. People at the time had mentioned that if this project was ever commercially viable, it may well render private ownership and use of cars to be completely unnecessary. Why buy and pay to run a car when you can use a free robo-taxi? Google's self-driving technology really is a collection of technologies all working together. It used light detection and ranging technology, or LiDAR, as well as short-range detection lasers, radar, inch precision, detailed maps, ultrasonic detectors, and high-definition cameras. These things all work together like eyes and ears to help the artificial driver see where it's going and check for hazards. It's very sophisticated and has been running driverless taxis in the small area of Phoenix for quite some time in order to test the system in ideal conditions. The downside of Google's auto-drive cars is they're pretty fucking ugly, and all the equipment installed makes the car much heavier. But it's a neat piece of technology which will probably have some kind of place in society at some point. Google spun the company off into its own startup called Waymo, and while the work that they've done is very impressive, they caution using too much optimism as it still needs many million more miles of testing in less than ideal conditions before it can be rolled out to the general public. Waymo themselves state that it's not even close to being ready for a general public. In 2013, round about the same time that Google was negotiating with Tesla to acquire it, Musk had mentioned that Google and Tesla were discussing a potential partnership to create a self-driving car. By autumn, the Google Tesla potential public. In 2013, round about the same time that Google was ready for the general company
LiDAR cars.
Definition LiDAR working together. It used light detection and ranging technology, or LiDAR, as well as short-range detection lasers, radar, inch precision.
LiDAR was the one main thing that they used on the Kinect cameras for the Xbox 360, the fucking Kinect. And they made all those games for it and stuff. That's like the first introduction I had to it. I think there's a couple different like popular models of phones that are out that use it in their cameras.
Detailed maps, ultrasonic detectors, and high definition cameras.
Yeah.
These things all work together like eyes and ears to help the artificial driver see where it's going and check for hazards. It's very sophisticated and has been running driverless taxis in the small area of Phoenix for quite some time in order to test the system in ideal conditions.
Oh yeah.
The downside of Google's auto-drive cars is they're pretty fucking ugly, and all the equipment installed makes the car much heavier. But it's a neat piece of technology which will probably have some kind of place in society at some point.
Yeah.
Google spun the company off into its own startup called Waymo, and while the work that they've done is very impressive, they caution using too much optimism as it still needs many million more miles of testing in less than ideal conditions before it can be rolled out to the general public. Waymo themselves state that it's not even close to being ready for a general public. In 2013, round about the same time that Google was negotiating with Tesla to acquire it, Musk had mentioned that Google and Tesla were discussing a potential partnership to create a self-driving car. By autumn, the Google-Tesla acquisition was off, and so was any plans of Musk collaborating with Google, instead saying that Tesla was developing its own self-driving car.
Imagine if Tesla ended up buying Google, dude.
And anyone relying on LiDAR is doomed.
Not Tesla, but Elon. I mean,
doomed.
That'd be crazy. Wait, is he talking shit
instead
on
saying that
fucking
Tesla acquisition
LiDAR right now?
partnership to create a self-driving car.
My ADHD,
By
I'm
autumn,
sorry, guys.
the Google-Tesla
Jesus.
acquisition was off, and so was any plans of Musk collaborating with Google, instead saying that Tesla was developing its own self-driving car. But
LiDAR is a fool's errand.
Oh, yeah,
anyone
he is.
relying on LiDAR is doomed. Doomed. Expensive sensors.
Doomed.
That are unnecessary. It's like having a whole bunch of expensive appendices. Like one appendix is bad. Well, now they want to put a whole bunch of them.
Appendices. That's not even a word.
So we expect to be feature complete in self-driving this year, and we expect to be confident enough from our standpoint to say that we think people do not need to touch the wheel, look out of the window, sometime probably around, I don't know, second quarter of next year.
now, remember how cautious Google/Waymo had been with superior technology and a 4-year head start. They still to this day say that it needs far more testing. Musk, in usual Elon style, told people that they would be doing 90% of miles driven autonomously in 3 years.
Yeah, sure.
Musk had obviously been sniffing his own farts a bit too much again. Sources close to Google's founders implied that they were a bit annoyed.
Oh, that was out of pocket as shit.
Musk had obviously been sniffing his own farts a bit too much again.
What
Sources
the
close to
fuck
Google's
was that,
founders
bro?
implied that they were
God.
a bit annoyed at Tesla's surprise pivot, since it had never been mentioned before. And they felt a bit
Shit,
as though
messed
like
up for that.
Musk had seen how much progress Google had made and didn't want his electric cars to become obsolete before he'd actually made a success of the company. Many people said Musk and Tesla wouldn't be able to beat the tech giant and its infinite reserves of cash to the punch and make autonomous cars first. What they didn't understand was Musk didn't have to. In business, there are two strategies which usually result in making a profit: being the best in the market or being the first in the market.
True.
Google, with Waymo, were taking the approach of being best in the market. They were using more sophisticated, more expensive, and more accurate technology. They were testing over a much longer period of time with a much wider range of conditions. Their aim was to be the best in market, regardless of how long it took. Musk must have been aware that he would never be able to compete with Google and their best in market approach, so he decided to be first in market instead. But that was going to require cutting some corners which Google weren't, and they would also require changing some perceptions of both Google's technology and whatever he served up at Tesla. Fortunately for Musk, he had become extremely adept at controlling media narratives when it came to his companies.
Yeah.
To do this, he began by redefining what self-driving car meant. He swapped out the term self-driving car, which was Google's terminology, saying that this implied that the car would do things the owner didn't want it to on its own. Instead, he compared what Tesla were creating as the same as the system on planes: autopilot.
Oh, sure.
Secondly, he talked about the LiDAR, which Google was using as both being expensive and less efficient than a software and camera-based system, referring to LiDAR as
LiDAR is a fool's errand.
almost everyone in the industry, from manufacturers to experts in the field of autonomous travel, disagreed.
Yeah.
This just played into Musk's public image of being smarter than everyone
You're
else,
wrong.
with the Muskrats claiming that nobody could see as far into the future as Musk. The autopilot that Musk was referring to really wasn't one system, but a couple of systems working in conjunction. First, there was the forward collision detection system, which used the forward-facing cameras to detect a collision and activate the automatic emergency braking to slow the car down. There was also traffic-aware cruise control, which uses the cameras to detect traffic in front of the car on highways and adjust the car's speed to match it. This has been around since the late 90s on some luxury cars. Finally, there was auto steer, which is what most people think of when they think of self-driving cars. Auto steer corrects the car's direction to keep it in its current lane when on the highway. All of these things work together to give the impression of automation, But it isn't actual automation because the system was unable to respond to quick real-time changes in conditions. Most car manufacturers nowadays have these features in at least one of their line of cars. The car I drive, an electric Hyundai Kona, has these features, and they are pretty interesting. But they don't label or advertise these features as self-driving or automatic, because they're not. They're driver assistance tools, and the car will flash constant warnings if your hands come off the wheel for longer than a few seconds. In 2014, before Tesla's autopilot had been released to the public, Musk had said that his cars would be able to drive from freeway on-ramp to freeway off-ramp completely automatically, and said that in their testing, autopilot was able to go from San Francisco to Seattle almost entirely with no input from a driver. Though he did also say that the driver is still responsible for the vehicle. Wouldn't want any crashes to be blamed on Tesla now, would we?
Yeah.
Musk, over the year, promised
Sounds
that while
about right.
autopilot wasn't a hands-free system out of the box, with each over-the-air update it would become hands-free, and continually talked up the accuracy and safety of the system, even on its release. When it was finally released, the media hyped up the features, wanting to be the first publication or website to extol the miraculous system. I'm going to lay the blame here at the media's feet. When the system was released in Tesla's press material, they warned people not to take your hands off the wheel. Though, unlike other manufacturers, Tesla cars don't tell drivers to do this while driving. As a result, media outlets started running stories of their reporters driving the Tesla hands-free in a variety of ways, which led to a public image cultivated by Musk and perpetuated by media of Tesla cars being autonomous. And this led to a tragic incident.
Oh shit. Yeah, this was
Joshua
bad.
Brown was a
This was really
self-driving
bad.
enthusiast
I
posting
remember
videos
this
on his
very
YouTube
well.
channel.
Geez. Car's doing it all itself.
What I'm gonna do with my hands down here.
Dude,
The
this shit was so
autopilot
sad.
system of the nearly $100,000
don't-
Tesla S.
Tesla really needs to be better about their safety standards. They really, I hope they've gotten better since this. I really do.
drove on, despite the fact that the entire windshield had been sheared off driving under
Oh
a tractor trailer.
Josh was an avid Tesla fan and had a YouTube channel almost entirely dedicated to displaying Tesla car features and discussing them. He even had a video on his channel demonstrating his Tesla making an
Yeah, he was
evasive
young
maneuver as
as
someone
hell,
cuts him up on the
dude.
freeway. Looking in the comments section of that video, you can see Brown discussing and defending the car's autopilot features when someone criticizes its use of cameras instead of LiDAR. He was a person who really believed in the hype around Tesla autopilot and tested it continuously. Brown was ecstatic when Musk retweeted his YouTube video showing his Tesla making the evasive action, which only further served to validate his belief in both Musk and Tesla. On May the 7th, 2016, Joshua Brown was driving down the Florida highway in his Tesla Model S with the autopilot features turned on. Ahead of him, down the road, a large truck with a bright white trailer was making a left turn, and Brown's car was heading towards it. Rather than making an emergency stop, the autopilot system crashed straight into the trailer, shearing the top of the car straight off and killing Brown instantly.
God.
The autopilot continued to drive for 100 yards after the crash, still unaware of any problem. So what happened? Considering the road was a long stretch of road with no obstructions, both the car and Brown would have seen the truck a long time before it became a hazard. Tesla stated that the likely reason the car didn't intervene was because the camera-based system couldn't tell the difference between the bright white trailer and the bright Florida sky. It thought the road was clear. We don't know why Brown didn't.
Oh my god. Holy shit, dude. That is fucking... Today was a lucky day. A semi-trailer ran a red light in front of me. So I was doing some data collection. This represents my closest view ever into how the Tesla car sees those trailers that cross your path. So after at first I noticed the trailer was detected normally, That was fine, but then I noticed that drivable space, the green shade, is how the path planner reacted to that. This trailer here is totally taken as an overhead structure. That's so dangerous, dude. What the fuck is Tesla doing? That makes me so upset. Wow. Fuck, dude.
We don't know why Brown didn't intervene. Some bystander reports say that Josh was watching a movie on a portable DVD player, but whether he was or wasn't, the reason he didn't do anything is because he believed the Tesla would. The incident revealed the real issue with automated systems in driving: the decreased driver attention. Other cars use things like pressurized sensors in the steering wheel and eye tracking cameras in the dash to warn drivers when they're not paying enough attention to the vehicle. In my own car, it takes about 10 seconds before it starts flashing warnings. I think I get 2 silent warnings and then it starts giving me an audio warning. So there's the first silent warning. There you go. But in the Tesla, there are no such warnings.
Wait, what did that say?
There you go.
22 seconds until the alarm sounds, which only turns off when I grab the... Okay.
But in the Tesla, there are no such warnings. On Josh Brown's channel, this video is 2 minutes long.
There's
and
nothing
the car
at
never
all
warns
on the
the driver
Tesla?
to put his hands on the wheel or pay more attention.
Oh my god.
Not too long after this,
I wonder
Tesla
if it's
posted
still
a
like
blog on
that.
their website and tried to play the whole thing down by saying, "This is the first known fatality in just over 130 million miles where autopilot was activated." When I read this, I couldn't help but be reminded of another quote. The blog post itself does express condolences
Joseph
at the end
Stalin
of the
quote
blog,
is crazy.
but only after it spent 4 paragraphs defending its systems and blaming the driver. Between Musk, the media, and his muskrats, its systems and blaming...
Yeah, let's fucking break this down. We learned yesterday evening that NHTSA is opening a preliminary evaluation into the performance of autopilot during a recent fatal crash that occurred in a Model S. This is the first known fatality just over 130 million miles where autopilot was activated. Among all vehicles in the US, there is a fatality every 94 million miles. Worldwide, there is a fatality approximately every 60 million miles. It is important to emphasize that the NHTSA action is simply a preliminary evaluation to determine whether the system worked according to expectations. Following our standard practice, Tesla informed NHTSA about the incident immediately after it occurred. What we know is that the vehicle was on a divided highway with autopilot engaged when a tractor trailer drove across the highway perpendicular to the Model S. Neither autopilot nor the driver noticed the white side of the tractor trailer against a brightly lit sky, so the brake was not applied. The high ride height of the trailer combined with its positioning across the road and the extremely rare circumstances of the impact caused the Model S to pass under the trailer, with the bottom of the trailer impacting the windshield of the Model S. Had the Model S impacted the front or rear of the trailer, even at high speed, its advanced crash safety system would likely have prevented serious injury as it has in numerous other similar incidents. It is important to note that Tesla disables autopilot by default and requires explicit acknowledgement that the system is new technology and still in a public beta phase before it can be enabled. When drivers activate autopilot, the acknowledgement box explains, among other things, that autopilot is an assist feature that requires you to keep your hands on the steering wheel at all times, and that you need to maintain control and responsibility for your vehicle while using it. Every time the autopilot is engaged, the car reminds the driver to always keep your hands on the wheel and be prepared to take over at any time. The system also makes frequent checks to ensure that the driver's hands remain on the wheel and provides visual and audible alerts if hands-on is not detected. It then gradually slows down the car until hands-on is detected again. We do this to ensure that every time the feature is used, it is used as safely as possible. As more real-world miles accumulate and the software logic accounts for increasingly rare events, the probability of injury will keep decreasing. Autopilot is getting better all the time, but it is not perfect and still requires the driver to remain alert. Nonetheless, when used in conjunction with driver oversight, the data is unequivocal that autopilot reduces driver workload and results in a statistically significant improvement in safety when compared to purely manual driving. The customer who died in this crash had a loving family, and we are beyond saddened by their loss. He was a friend of Tesla and the broader EV community, a person who spent his life focused on innovation and the promise of technology, and who believed strongly in Tesla's mission. We would like to extend our deepest sympathies to his family and friends. Damn, bro. Yeah, that was a lot. I know. Sorry. But yeah, that's basically, to me, at least, it reads as them saying tough shit, and then at the very end they just give, like, you know, very, like, a very general apology that doesn't really feel like that sincere to me. That's my take on it.
In the driver. Between Musk, the media, and his muskrats, an unrealistic and dangerous expectation of autopilot had been created, and it cost someone their life.
Yeah.
Other manufacturers label the systems individually and make it clear that they are for driver assistance, which is probably why they don't get featured anywhere near as much in the media as the Tesla system. Had Tesla also just called autopilot lane and braking assistance, which is what they are, perhaps Brown wouldn't have had such confidence in the system. Watching other videos on Brown's channel, it's pretty clear that he believed autopilot was learning to drive and improving all the time. Another issue was that the data Tesla recorded from their vehicles was kept by Tesla and not a third party. Originally, even car owners themselves weren't allowed access to their own driving data. This meant that error reporting, like years before, was hidden from public view and regulatory oversight. Now, they weren't doing anything illegal, because at that time there was no legislation which said that Tesla had to do this. What they did do was use these data logs anytime someone tried to blame autopilot for a crash.
Oh shit.
If the data would clear autopilot of any wrongdoing, they would publicly publish it. But anytime it suggested that autopilot caused the problem, they just denied anyone access to it.
That's crazy. Deny.
In one example of a customer lose-lose scenario, a Los Angeles driver spotted that her Tesla was about to crash into a stationary vehicle. She took control of the car to try and brake at the last second, only to still crash into the car anyway.
What the
Tesla
fuck?
blamed the driver in this case, saying that as she pressed the brake, she disengaged the cruise control, and so the crash was her fault. So if she doesn't hit the brake, it's the driver's fault for not paying attention. If she does hit the brake, it's the driver's fault for stopping the cruise control. Just be warned, if you drive a Tesla, the company will 100% blame you if there's an accident, regardless of if you're controlling the vehicle or not. For the next couple of months, after these reports surfaced, Musk started to get annoyed with the media coverage, which he had been praising just a short time prior, eventually snapping and saying, "One of the things I should mention that frankly has been quite disturbing to me is the degree of media coverage of autopilot crashes, which are basically almost none relative to the paucity of media coverage of the 1.2 million people that die every year in manual crashes."
Oh my god.
It's something that I think does not reflect well upon the media. It really doesn't. And for once, Musk was right, just not in the way he thought he was. The media coverage about Tesla Autopilot had been very irresponsible when they reported how good the system was. All the positive coverage, which Elon had been encouraging just a couple of months before from a variety of sources, had cemented the idea that the system was automatic and safe. Had the media and muskrats been less click happy and described the systems like any other car, as lane assist and assisted braking, it wouldn't have led to so many people believing the car was genuinely driving for them. 100%. Some media outlets in the aftermath reported that Tesla should be using eye tracking cameras and warnings to make the system safer, by reminding stupid humans that you're the driver.
2021 Tesla did eventually install driver monitoring systems using cameras. Okay. Thank God. Thank fucking Christ they did that. And it's reported the new in-car camera system being buggy and giving notifications when they were driving and paying attention. Of course. Even no support from Tesla on how to fix the issue. People disabled the camera, are told by Tesla to turn the system back on. If they fail to do so, their FSD package, which they paid $10K for, oh shit, would be permanently that's, I'm not surprised, but that is a goddamn joke, dude. That's gnarly.
Musk hit back at this criticism, saying eye tracking had been rejected at Tesla because it was ineffective. However,
okay. They wanted to add eye track. And then he said, "This is false. Eye tracking rejected for being ineffective, not for cost. WSD fails to mention that Tesla is safest car on road, which would make article ridiculous. Approximately 4 times better than average."
Cadillac has the exact same lane assist features, braking assistance, and traffic-aware cruise control in their cars, but they have not had a single crash while these systems have been active. The difference? Cadillac uses eye tracking warnings, which Musk said were ineffective. Shortly after, the company which supplied the chips for Tesla's autopilot cameras, Mobileye, terminated their contract with Tesla, stating that they felt as a company that they should be sure to only supply to companies who will use the software and hardware in a safe way, and mentioned that they had been complaining about Tesla's lack of safety features for a while. Musk told a different story, that Tesla had been developing their own system, and when Mobileye found out, they got jealous and terminated the contract.
Sure. Anything to fucking...
I was once at a Starbucks near where I live to use the charging station there to charge my car. Looking out of the window, I saw a shiny new Tesla Model Y pull up next to my car to use the other charging station. The owner got out of the vehicle and closed the door, and then realized that he'd left his wallet inside the vehicle. He pulled his phone out of his pocket and tapped the screen, waiting for something. Nothing happened. He tapped it again and again and again, each time getting angrier at the lack of something happening. Eventually, he used his phone to call someone, and I saw him angrily gesticulating next to his car while talking on the phone. Feeling curious, I went outside and walked over to my car just as he hung up the phone. I asked him what the problem was, and he told me that his Tesla app had crashed and left his car locked with his wallet inside.
Dude.
I couldn't help thinking, surely a key would be much less hassle.
Yeah.
After 2 trouble productions for both the Roadster and the Model S, Musk and Tesla hoped that they had ironed out all of the creases in production by the time Musk announced the Model X to the world in February 2012.
You'll never see me in a fucking Tesla.
This would be Tesla's entry into the, at the time, booming SUV market. Musk even mentioned that it was built on the Model S platform, and so production costs and problems should be minimized this time. The Model X was envisioned as a futuristic-looking SUV, electric SUV, with its own unique design feature.
I just had a thought. If it goes through like an app for the key and shit still, can they get hacked? Like that's gotta be a possibility, right? Or was at some point. That's like very concerning.
Falcon wing doors. The industry had experimented with a variety of different door types in its time.
Falcon wing doors.
From suicide industry had experimented with design feature.
Falcon wing doors on the fucking minivan.
The industry had experimented with a variety of different door types in its time.
Nuts.
From suicide doors first seen during Prohibition era vehicles to the famous gull wing doors of the doomed DeLorean.
My favorite.
Fancy doors weren't anything new. In fact,
crazy,
just looking through concept cars of even the last decade,
also,
you'll find all manner of insane designs for cars. Which are even the last decade. You'll find all manner of insane designs.
What is that? Ooh. Good lord. That's so sick.
For cars, which hardly ever make it to production.
Ew.
For the same reason,
Ooh.
Tesla were about designs for cars, which hardly ever make it
Chocolate.
to production. For this.
What is that? What is that? God damn. That's crazy looking.
Same reason Tesla were about to realize with its Falcon Wing doors. In fairness to Tesla, they were actually at least trying to solve a problem. If cars get bigger, then how does one open the door in, say, a parking structure, which has not got bigger? The Falcon Wing door was Tesla's answer to the question of easy access in tight spaces.
Okay.
And in theory, it's a pretty good solution. And it does also look cool. However, they presented a challenge. This type of door didn't exist, and generally speaking, when it comes to engineering, the most reliable machine is the one with the least moving parts. From the beginning, according to Ashley Vance, who interviewed some Tesla engineers, the team had reservations about the doors and tried to come up with reasons to not include the design feature. But Musk insisted that in addition to being a distinctive feature, it did improve backseat access, which was true. They definitely did. So, the doors remain part of the design. The car was announced in 2012, with Musk saying the car would hit the market a year later. Tesla took pre-orders for the car that day.
Yes, it didn't.
The car didn't make it to market until 2015.
Yeah.
When the car did eventually make it to market, it was in very small numbers. The reason that it took so long was the doors. Originally, Tesla hired a company called Hohbiger. Sorry if I'm murdering that name, I really don't know how to pronounce it.
What'd you call me, dude?
They hired Hohbiger to manufacture the doors. When Tesla sued Hohbiger in 2015, the problem became more apparent with the public filing of the lawsuit. Tesla claimed that Hohbiger had consistently manufactured poor quality doors, which was causing the delays. Doors that didn't open, overheated, leaked oil, or didn't open symmetrically were all cited in the complaint by Tesla. Of course, normally, nobody but the plaintiff, defendant, and the court are aware of a lawsuit, unless it somehow leaks out. Now, it can be assumed that from Hohbiger's surprise and the fact that all the blame was laid on them, that they didn't leak the suit. Tesla had done it. We can be pretty sure about that specifically, since the media reports showed up the same day the suit was filed. Over the 3-year delay of the car, Tesla had repeatedly taken criticism to the point where even a few stray muskrats were starting to complain about the delay.
Damn.
This had started to affect the stock price, which had been on the slide since late 2014. Hohbiger responded a few days later, stating that they only had been contracted to produce the actuators for the doors, and that the electric controls, which were the real problems, were nothing to do with them. The reason production was slow was because Tesla had backed out of their contract and owed Hohbiger money. Tesla made 10 complaints in their filing. Eventually, the claim was settled out of court after Tesla dropped 8 out of the 10 complaints and agreed to pay money that was owed to Hohbiger. I imagine Tesla didn't really care about settling the lawsuit because the whole point of the lawsuit was to create a scapegoat and legitimize it using the legal system. And it worked. He knew that nobody would bother waiting for the outcome of the suit. They would just assume it was true. Everyone now thought that Hohbiger was the reason for the delay, which bought Tesla some time. Tesla still had the problem of what to do about the doors, since they still didn't work. They decided the best solution would be to switch to electromechanical instead of hydraulic and start from scratch, costing more money, and also meaning that another novel part would need to be designed and manufactured from scratch. Eventually, they did do this and started producing the Model X in the numbers that they needed. Pretty soon, cars were being delivered to customers and they were accepting them. Shortly after, those same owners would hit the forums, message boards, and social media to complain about the quality of the car. Reports of creaking chassis, poor paint jobs, misaligned and ill-fitting body panels, and windscreens which had a serious ghosting issue. Model X front doors also didn't have pop-out handles like previous cars. Instead, the doors opened automatically when the owner approached or pressed the handle on the actual door itself. And owners started complaining that the doors were misaligned with the frame, leading to them not opening or sticking. Sometimes they wouldn't open automatically, and sometimes they'd open randomly while driving. Customers reported taking cars to service centers repeatedly, and some even sold their cars back to Tesla using state lemon laws, which allow a customer to return a product for a full refund if the product can conclusively be shown to be unfit for purpose.
Never heard of that.
Problems like these are exactly why crazy ideas only ever appear in concept cars, because when it comes to manufacturing them, the more complex the car, the more likely it is to have problems. But at least Musk did learn from the development of the Model X.
What the fuck did he say? This Model X program has been challenging. I particularly need to fault myself for a fair bit of hubris for putting too much technology all at once into a product. I said some of the coolest tech was rushed. In retrospect, the right thing to do with Model X would have been to take a lot of the really awesome cool things and table them for a future version. So if I could wind back the clock, I would say, look, we've got these great ideas, things that I want to implement and other people want to implement. But the smart move would actually have been to table those for version 2 and version 3 of Model X instead of piling them all into version 1. He owned the widely reported problems with the Model X. Okay. Yeah, this is in 2016.
Once again, Tesla had managed to take a long time to deliver an underwhelming vehicle filled with bugs and problems, which was priced more than the consumer had originally been told to pay. In part, due to problems with the Model X, the autopilot crash scandals, and poor sales, Tesla stock had slumped to a 2-year low. Tesla needed something to pick up the morale again, and this is when Musk and Tesla decided to announce the car that in the original plan would have been car number 2, the affordable car. Musk called this the Model 3, though curiously he never referred to it as the affordable car. Instead, Musk had used the Model 3 to talk up autopilot and full self-drive.
Oh my god.
The cars will be increasingly autonomous. So you won't really need to look at an instrument panel all that often. You'll be able to do whatever you want. You'll be able to watch a movie, talk to friends, go to sleep.
Go to sleep,
model,
dude?
every Tesla.
No, you did not fucking say that. He did not say that, bro. Go to sleep? You'll be able to, get fucking manslaughtered in this Tesla? Jesus Christ.
Look at an instrument panel all that often.
No shot.
You'll be able to do whatever you want. You'll be able to watch a movie, talk to friends.
Watch a movie.
Go to sleep.
Oh my god.
Every model, every Tesla being produced right now.
That shit sent me, dude.
Model 3,
I'm not
Model
even
S,
gonna
Model
lie.
X has
That's
all of the
nuts.
hardware necessary for full autonomy.
He said that the Model 3 would be a car that pays for itself. Once full
cannot get over
self-drive was
that.
given
That's the
regulatory
funniest
approval,
fucking
it would
thing
be
I've heard
activated
all
in
day.
every Model 3.
Not even
And
like
while
funny
you
as
went
much
to
as
work,
like
your car would be
just,
added
like,
to the Tesla
shocking.
robo-taxi fleet and earn you money. Work, approval, a car that pays.
All of the hardware necessary for full autonomy.
He said that the Model 3 would be a car that pays for itself. Once full self-drive was given regulatory approval, it would be activated in every Model 3.
Oh, okay.
And while you went to work, your car would be added to the Tesla robo-taxi fleet and earn you money.
What?
It was pretty outlandish claim to make, considering Tesla was still putting out fires
you're
from the
like
recent crashes of
renting out your
autopilots,
car?
which actually happened far more commonly than Tesla had let on. The recent separation
weird
with
as hell.
Mobileye, coupled with the accidents, had people a bit more skeptical of Musk's plans for Level 5 full self-driving. To counter it, Tesla created and released a video of a Model S driving itself from a residential home to the company headquarters. The car did have a driver in the driving seat, but Tesla assured people that he was only there for insurance purposes and did not drive the car. This was another game of illusions by King Muskrat.
Is it
Since
CGI?
Tesla assured people that he was only there for insurance.
Let's see. It looks real. What's the is it being controlled from a remote? Let's see.
Purposes and did not drive the car.
How is it fake?
This was another game of illusions by King Muskrat. Since Tesla used some creative filmmaking to make it seem as though the car was more
CGI. Fuck, dude. They got some dude at like Tesla like branding just going crazy on After Effects.
capable than it really was. They shot the
fucked
video
up,
over the course
dude.
of a few days, making the exact same route each time.
Wow.
This gave them lots of extra footage of the same stretches of road to use in editing, in the event that something went wrong.
That's dirty.
They also wouldn't film during rush hours, so the car would never have to navigate busy and unpredictable traffic. But even if they did skew the odds in their favor, the car had actually driven itself to its destination. One of the requirements in California for automated cars is that they're tested beforehand and all the test data is given to the state to assess whether it meets the state's automated driving safety regulations or not. When Tesla handed over the data for its automated driving, a grand total of 550 miles were logged. Waymo logged 635,000 miles, and Volkswagen, who started testing around about the same time as Tesla, logged 15,000. Tesla logged just 550 miles.
Yeah, that's nothing, dude.
And all those miles were collected while filming the self-driving car video. What's more is that during its 550-mile safety test drive, the data showed that a human driver had to intervene and stop the car 182 times. So the driver wasn't there just for insurance reasons. This meant that on average, a Tesla in full self-drive mode could only manage about 3.5 miles before it made a mistake, needing a human to correct it. Waymo's average was 5,000 miles, and BMW's average was 638 miles. By comparison to their market competition, BMW, Tesla was laughably poor. By comparison to the market leader Waymo, it was an utter humiliation. After the departure of Mobileye, Tesla had to make their own image assessment chips for autopilot, which they now refer to as enhanced autopilot. But owners had been reporting that the enhanced autopilot didn't perform as well as the original autopilot. Musk kept promising that software updates would fix the problem and had a dialogue with the public about it. Then, he told the owners that a new update would make it feel smooth as silk.
Oh, I'm sure.
They were still unhappy about it after this update. After that, he just stopped making promises about the system entirely. Part of the reason for the issue was because Tesla's head of autopilot program, Sterling Anderson, had left the company complaining that Musk was expecting the program to do something that it was never designed or capable of doing. Before long, a new buzzword popped up: shadow mode. It was a phrase that Tesla had used in a press release to describe how the new software learned how to drive. Realistically, it was just an attempt to simplify the language to make it easier for the layman to understand. Essentially, it just ran simulations and learned via those simulations. But the buzzword had people talking about an advanced computer AI that was learning on the job from driver mistakes and recording how other cars on the road behaved.
Yeah, we're not
That just
gonna
wasn't
have
true.
that
It was just
for a
running
while.
simulations and recording data. As usual, Tesla or Musk didn't bother to correct the wild speculation and just allowed it to build and create bigger expectations. In reality, Tesla was falling behind its competitors, who had all opted to use a combination of LiDAR, multiple radar sensors, and ultrasonic sensors in conjunction with cameras, and were all outperforming Tesla's full self-driving software. Musk had been wrong about LiDAR. The use of multiple different sensor types acted as redundancy measures against each other.
They all work
Whereas
in
the
conjunction.
Tesla system couldn't differentiate between the trailer in the Josh Brown accident and the sky, the LiDAR would have bounced a laser off it, detecting an object and its range, while radar and cameras would have identified it. For self-driving software, this was the best way because the overlapping systems allowed it to build a real-time 3D picture of the world around it. In late 2018, Waymo CEO John Krafcik publicly stated that totally autonomous vehicles might never be possible outside of ideal conditions. In the meantime, Tesla was still selling Level 5 full self-drive options on their cars. The Model 3 reveal, full self-drive aside, was pretty successful. People were excited about the more competitively priced car, and pre-orders for the car were extremely strong.
Still can't get over the fucking pre-ordering.
The Roadster, Model S, and Model X had taught Tesla and Musk a very harsh lesson.
I think a couple other car companies do that too.
Wing manufacturing like it's software.
Oh my god.
Musk seemed to have learned this lesson. Wing manufacturing like it's software. Musk seemed to have learned this lesson when he announced that the Model 3 production would be 500,000 units in 2018, 2 years ahead of schedule. He mentioned that Tesla cars were well received and loved for their design features, but it was time that Tesla became a leader in manufacturing. His plan was for the process to be tightly controlled, for no part to be reapproved for the Model 3, which manufacturing didn't say could be easily made and fitted, for waste to be reduced and time saved. In short, he was taking the Toyota approach, or that's what people thought. The problem was Musk's promises again.
Empty promises.
The fastest car plants in the world, the car exit velocity is basically.
God, that fucking photo of him, dude. He looks like a
It's real
little goblin. He looks like a goon.
You know, really, really slow. So you could do way better than that.
Are these efficiencies that you are looking to put in place for your next Tesla?
Sorry if you guys hear my fucking stomach. Jesus Christ. It's like going off.
Stage in the near future.
You get a little snack.
You'll see things moving in that direction. So, I mean, our engineering team has worked very closely with
Let's wrap it up here very soon.
Improvements to the cell manufacturing efficiency. We think we're probably approaching 3x the efficiency of the best plant in the world. So that's pretty good. Cells are going through that thing like bullets from a machine gun.
Yeah, sure, buddy.
The exit rate of cells will be faster than bullets from a machine gun.
But the problem with this line of thinking was that it's completely wrong. You see, manufacturing of all kinds never intends to get progressively faster. Its primary concern isn't speed, it's accuracy. The point is to waste as little as possible and to make sure the quality is as high as possible. The assembly line is given a constant speed so that constant quality checks can be performed and the line monitored. The goal is consistency, not speed. Musk's obsession with speed was insane. It didn't even make sense. It may be coming from a computing background. It didn't matter because when the product is digital, you can make changes on the fly and send it out to all existing versions, updating them. But that is literally impossible in manufacturing. It's what happens when you spend too much time learning to code and not enough time learning to think critically.
Yeah.
This heavy pressure from Musk to go faster and churn out more and more production led to a hellish work environment and culture of extended high pressure.
Here we go with the fucking sweatshop shit. Tesla workers are passing out on the factory floor. Jesus. Workers at Tesla's California car factory have been passing out and requiring rides in ambulances. Regarding the conditions at the factory suggest a lance in the company is going to in order to meet his extremely ambitious production goals. And the tension employees feel between their pride in being part of the company and the stress and exhaustion the company's goals are causing them, according to the report. That's fucked.
Hours. It led to people collapsing on the factory floor from exhaustion and workers sleeping in the factory at night too afraid to go home in case they were branded lazy and let go. What's more, they were working using designs that hadn't actually been approved yet and were consistently changing as Musk saw fit. The biggest problem, however, was that the car was still being made by hand. Musk had promised a futuristic production line filled with top-of-the-line equipment that would move faster than the human eye could see when talking with investors. But the reality was they didn't have a manufacturing plant as they were still waiting for their Fremont plant to be retooled. And so most of the cars were still being made by hand. The Wall Street Journal reported that major portions of the Model 3 were being assembled manually.
In sweatshops.
The car that Musk had driven in would be in The Wall Street Journal reported that major portions of the Model 3 were being assembled manually.
Yep.
The car that Musk had driven in the reveal, which he had said was the first production model off the line, was made up by hand at the Fremont plant before the event and then driven there by Musk. If the problems at Fremont sound bad, then they certainly weren't helped by problems over at the Gigafactory in Nevada. When originally revealed, that Gigafactory was described as the pinnacle of manufacturing, where seamless, fast production took place at a huge scale. What CNBC actually uncovered at the factory was the exact opposite. Machines weren't up to speed, and so most of the production was being done by hand. Assembling battery packs can be more complicated than it sounds, since things have to be fitted in precise places.
Wait, employees also said that quality control workers were not experienced. 2 said that some batteries are leaving the factory with a potentially serious defect. Oh, and that's the source of, that's the source of the fucking fires.
In a precise way, to both maximize their ability as a battery, but also to keep them safe from chemical reactions. This is the reason that they're supposed to be assembled in standardized fashion by machines who can replicate the same thing over and over and over as precisely the last time as it was the first time. The hand-assembled packs were full of defects because precise measurements couldn't be kept to at the speed that Musk was demanding production be made.
What the fuck is this backing
To compound
track,
this issue, the only quality control at the plant was from temp workers hired by Tesla who had no experience in automotive production. So if there were faults, they weren't being spotted. Engineers interviewed by CNBC expressed concern about this, as imperfections in the battery pack assembly created real and serious risks. One of which was that the battery packs could...
2 current engineers told CNBC that they are concerned some of the batteries being shipped do not have the minimum gap required between lithium-ion cells. These engineers warned that these touching cells could cause batteries to short out or in worst cases catch fire. Yeah, see? And it's all just because they want to cut fucking corners and outsource, mainly hiring inexperienced engineers, and just they work them to fucking death.
Could catch fire, which is exactly what many Tesla vehicles made around this time did. In each instance of a vehicle spontaneously combusting, faulty battery was listed as the cause of the fire.
That's
instance of a vehicle spontaneously combusting, faulty battery around this time did. In each instance of a vehicle spontaneously combusting, faulty battery was listed as the cause of the fire. A faulty battery that should never have been installed. The production was so badly organized and understaffed that at one point Tesla asked Panasonic to borrow some of its workers to help assemble the packs for them.
Jeez.
Throughout 2017 and 18, the Tesla workers to help us.
Tesla was still making its Model 3 batteries partly by hand in mid-December. According to current engineers and ex-Tesla employees worked at the Gigafactory, they say Tesla had to borrow scores of employees from Panasonic and to help with this manual assembly.
Assemble the packs for them. Throughout 2017 and 18, the Tesla factory in Fremont would also catch fire almost as often as Tesla cars would spontaneously combust in the street. One particular shop fire happened when a robot paint spreader caught fire, turning the spraying paint into...
Oh, fuck. Wait, Tesla has 4 fires in its paint shop in the last 4 years. Wow. Some fumes are leaving them concerned about their health for the employees. That's
to a flamethrower. The cause of the fire was reported to be turning... One particular shop fire happened when a robot paint spreader caught fire, turning the spraying paint into a flamethrower.
Oh shit.
The cause of the fire was reported to be because Tesla workers didn't have time to clean part of the robot properly because of the pressure to keep turning out more units.
That's sad, dude. That's terrible.
Eventually, Tesla did manage to hit their production deadlines and started delivering cars to customers.
Oh boy.
By now, you should have come to expect the next couple of sentences.
Safety
Tesla Model 3 owners immediately started reporting quality control issues. Owners reported the same issues as previous models: misaligned panels, faulty door locks, creaky chassis, leaky door seals. But this time at least, the Model 3 had some of its own problems too, with people reporting battery issues, cracked suspension joints at low miles, and non-functioning touchscreens.
Oh.
You might wonder at this point, what the fuck Tesla has been doing this whole time?
Yeah.
How is it that 10 years and 4 production models later, they're still having the same issues as the very first production? Tesla had pitched itself as a disruptor, someone to shake up the industry and do things different. And it certainly started out that way, but within a couple of years started making the exact same choices which had buried 1,000 other new car makers.
Yeah.
As with the very first car, it was unable to deliver on time, didn't deliver the car at the price that it stated it would deliver at, and delivered something which was universally acknowledged as poorly built. In 2000, Enron was one of the biggest energy companies in the world. They had just recorded $101 billion in revenue that year. Fortune magazine had named Enron the most innovative company in America for 6 years in a row, and the stock price was exploding. 1 year later, Enron didn't exist anymore.
What?
Stock price does not always reflect the health of a company. To quickly recap, we have seen a Musk-led Tesla fail to turn a profit with 4 different production vehicles. 3 of those 4 he was heavily involved with. We've seen Tesla knowingly turn out cars which are prone to catching on fire, a crushing workplace built on a culture of fear and exploitation, and a whole bunch of cars which are consistently described as having poor build quality. Tesla weren't making money. They weren't making cars that customers were 100% happy with, and they were always behind schedule. I imagine that any other company would have fired Elon Musk by now. Eberhard was fired for far less. Rather than fire Musk, the board gave him a new compensation package which could potentially pay Musk $55 billion. And the whole package was tied to stock performance. When I read that, that seemed crazy to me. Why wouldn't you tie his pay to the level of profit or manufacturing numbers? You know, things that needed to be fixed and were currently huge issues. Instead, they tied it to stock value. Imagine if your boss came to you tomorrow and said that you weren't going to be paid based on how good you were at your job anymore. You were going to be paid based on what other people thought of the company that you worked for.
Oh, God.
That's essentially what they did.
Yep.
$55 billion, and all he had to do was grow the market cap to $650 billion, which, I should stress, is definitely not easy. Not at all. But it wasn't a goal that actually made the company better or healthier. Musk's driving motivation now wasn't good products, it was stock price. To move the stock price in the modern era, you just needed to know how to handle expectations in the media. 2 things Musk was really good at. Raising the stock price is a bit like raising funds as a startup. You need to get retail investors.
He is very, very good at socially working people. He is very socially aware, and he didn't really used to be like that, but over the years he's learned it very well.
Investor dicks really hard. You need to show them something sexy. So that's what Musk did.
Musk gets his semi out. Okay, this will be the last section that I watch here on stream. And then I think I'm gonna call it.
Musk unveiled the Tesla semi-truck to the world, and it came out to muted but good response. The audience seemed more curious than anything. I suppose they were probably curious why this means anything to them, since private car owners aren't going to be buying a semi-truck, even if it's got Tesla's name slapped to the side of it.
I want to see that fucking semi.
The audience seemed more curious.
I remember seeing it when they first unveiled it, but oh my god, dude. Look at that. Look how unnecessary that is.
Than anything. I suppose they were probably curious why this means anything to them, since private car owners aren't going to be buying a semi-truck, even if it's got Tesla's name slapped to the side of it. What I was curious about, however, is how useful is this thing going to be? One of the few areas of transport where even green campaigners concede fossil fuels will still be necessary is logistics.
It would be nice,
because a truck needs
but
to have a
no
lot of
one's
power
gonna ever
to pull what
adopt
can be
it.
extremely heavy cargo. These vehicles need to have tremendous build quality to take the kind of long-distance punishment that is commonplace in logistics. It's not looking good for Tesla.
In a perfect world, it would be nice.
This is why diesel engines are used over petrol engines. It's more fuel efficient, and the engines themselves are more simple, which means they break far less often than petrol ones. the most important factor for logistics companies isn't how fast the truck is.
It's how efficient
but
it
what
is.
its load capacity
Or,
is.
yeah, that.
I.e., how much can it pull?
Well, yeah, that's
Here is an excellent breakdown
efficiency,
of just
basically.
how useless the Tesla semi-truck really is.
Let's do the calculations for your average combustion engine semi-truck. So trucks have a weight limit which they cannot exceed. This is 80,000 pounds in the US or 36 tons. The weight of the cargo plus the vehicle cannot exceed this number. And so your average semi-truck weighs 35,000 pounds or 16 tons. This is of course engine plus trailer. And so the fuel tanks of trucks can hold around 300 gallons or 1135 liters. 1 liter of fuel weighs 0.77 kilograms, and so a full tank will weigh 874 kilograms. So let's round it up to 1 ton for the sake of simplicity, meaning 16 tons of truck plus 1 ton of fuel. So with that we use up 17 tons of our allowance of 36 tons, meaning we'll be able to transport 19 tons of useful cargo. Alright, so let's see how the Tesla Semi measures up to this. And this will be determined by our concept of the day, 1 to 20. Meaning, to get the same result as with using 1 kilogram of fossil fuel, you need 20 kilograms of battery. This should also factor in the efficiency difference between electric and combustion engines, but this is of course an approximation. So if you want the same results as a conventional truck with 874 kilos of fuel, your battery will weigh 17 tons.
Oh my
so a 16-ton truck and a 17-ton battery is 33 tons.
How does that
meaning
happen?
that you'll have a load capacity of 3 tons. That's 1/6 that of a regular truck.
Tesla Semi was actually a floppy. Which kind of prompts the question, who is this made for? Well, some of the features that...
can we appreciate this?
Tesla Semi was actually a floppy.
That was
which
good,
kind of
my
prompts the
guy.
question, who is this made for? Well, some of the features that he lists might answer that question. During the reveal, the features that he listed were as follows: enhanced autopilot, 0 to 60 speed, impossible to jackknife, racing car style seat position, 0 to 60 speed.
How?
Impossible to
jackknife prevention, not impossible, prevention.
Jackknife, racing car style seat position. It guaranteed that it would not break down for 1 million miles and that the glass could withstand a thermonuclear explosion.
Damn.
I'm not making that up, he genuinely said that.
Thermonuclear explosion proof glass.
Oh. Look at that.
Musk wasn't aiming
Look at that smug. Fuck, yeah, sure. Look at that smug look.
Musk wasn't aiming the truck at the trucking industry. He wasn't aiming it at customers at all. Its list of wacky features which actually don't help it serve its intended purpose, but it does create headlines. It's pretty clear to me that the Semi was designed to create media buzz, which would improve the stock price. But he wasn't done there. Just as everyone thought that he was finished, the trailer opened up and out popped a new Tesla Roadster.
Ugh.
This was a genuine surprise, as nobody knew that Tesla were even working on a new Roadster. Even the usual flap-happy Musk hadn't mentioned the Roadster before, and like the Semi, it had a list of specs designed to make people get instantly hard. It was blisteringly fast. The stock did see a small bump, but nothing like what had happened after previous events. But maybe that was down to both of the unveiled products not really being designed for the average customer. The Semi was quite clearly not aimed at muskrats, and the Roadster, while definitely being desirable, carried a $250,000 price tag, placing it out of reach of most muskrats. So, of course, they were a bit less excited than he wanted them to be, and the stock only had minor bumps as a result. Musk did have a solution, though.
Alright. That is where we call it. If you tuned in, thank you for watching. Also, one sec here. Want to give a shout out again to this dude, because I'm definitely gonna finish the rest of the video off stream, but piqued interest. Definitely check out his shit. I'm gonna look more into his content. This is a long video. I really appreciate how comprehensive it is, but I really hope the rest of his stuff isn't this long, because that's kind of a bit much. But I'm sure some people out there will appreciate how long it is. But anyways, thank you all so much. More streams soon.